All right, shalom, shalom. I need Yehuda Yoram, Judah the Shooter. Today we got a good and interesting topic today that most people may or may not know about. Today we're going to be talking about two topics at hand. We're going to be dealing with the topic of Christmas, and we're also going to be dealing with the topic of Hanukkah. I'm going to go ahead and pull the screen up. If this is your first time coming to my channel, definitely please like, share, and subscribe to youtube.com/Judah the Shooter. That's JUDAHDASHOOTAH. All right, so we have two topics on hand. We see pagan Christmas versus Hanukkah, aka dedication. The question is, which one is biblical, and which tradition is righteous? All right, so usually when you hear something like Hanukkah, you think of like Jewish people. You don't never really think to connect yourself. When I say yourself, those are the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade. You so-called Negroes out there. You never really think to connect yourself to a tradition that we know today as Hanukkah. But instead, we have been accustomed to attaching ourselves to Christmas. All right. So before we get started, now there is something that I'm going to put. I'm going to show them a video. So for you all, it's going to cut off here, and I'm going to show you by the time this video is streaming on YouTube.
This is David, who says, we have friends who do not celebrate Christmas because they say December 25th is really a pagan holiday. While I agree that Jesus may not have been born on December 25th, he certainly was born as described in the Bible. How do I respond to them?
Well, in a sense, tell them they're right. You see, the winter solstice a couple of days later was the shortest day of the year, and the pagans had something called Saturnalia. And the pagans had something called Saturnalia. And the pagans had something called Saturnalia. And it was a time of lawlessness because all the laws were suspended. And people, a bunch of singers actually wandered the streets naked singing. And then they had orgies, sexual orgies. It was a mass thing. Well, when the Catholic Church came along in Italy, the Romans and others didn't want to give up their holidays. So they said, okay, we'll Christianize it. And so they said, okay, we'll say the birth of Jesus was the 25th of December. And then there was a monk who began to add it up. You see, if you read in Luke, it says there's a census taken when Quirinius was governor and so forth and so on. And they could take those leaders and figure the exact time dating from the foundation of Rome. And that's when the dates were established. And so they get pretty close to the date. But to say it's the 25th, shepherds were out abiding in the field. It gets a little cold at night. I mean, were they out there in the middle of winter? You know, I don't know. I've been out there on the shepherd's field on Christmas Eve. It's very nice. But it's cold. And nevertheless, I mean, what was going on? So all this business about mistletoe, pagan. Christmas trees, pagan. Giving out gifts, pagan. Every bit of it is pagan. Every single bit of it is pagan. We've Christianized it all. And so that's good. And so we have time, we celebrate for Jesus. Everybody gets all misty-eyed. But the truth is, they're all pagan. But the birth of Jesus.
But the intent of the heart is what it's about.
Exactly. So we have Christianized all these things. We give gifts in the name of Jesus. We celebrate his
Isaiah
birthday.
5.
And it's a nice thing. And so,
Verse 20 and 21. The prophet Isaiah gives us warning. Have you read that? Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20 and 21. You know what he said? He says, woe unto them. Woe means a warning of destruction. But woe unto them that call evil good, such as your Christmas. That was paganism. It is paganism. And now you look it off as something good. He says, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that puts bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. I believe that's what it says. So look at your pagan custom. The Most High frowns up on this. And now today is looked at as something good. But as long as you put the children in it, give some nice sweet songs, right? It can be passed off as something good.
But the truth is, they're all pagan. But the birth
The
of
practices, but the intent of the heart is what it's about.
Exactly. So we have Christianized all these things. We give gifts in the name of Jesus. We celebrate his birthday.
Verse
And,
21,
it's a
I
nice
know it
thing.
says, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent, meaning clever in their own sight. Who are clever in their own sight. Well, I just think Christmas, to me, Christmas, I know it ain't in the Bible, but it's for the kids. Look at this. The pagans put it right in your face. Wishing you happy Saturnalia, a reason for the season.
And the pagans had something called Saturnalia. And it was a time of lawlessness because all the laws were suspended. And people, a bunch of singers actually wandered the streets naked singing. And then they had orgies, sexual orgies. And then they had orgies, sexual orgies. It was a mass thing. Well, when the Catholic Church came along in Italy, the Romans and others didn't want to give up their holidays, so they said, okay, we'll Christianize it. And so they said, okay, we'll say the birth of Jesus was the 25th of December.
So understand that the pagans are the reasons for the season, not your Jesus. And I know, hey, it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's easier when you chew it.
Men. And that's what Christmas is all about. You hear that, boy? That's what Christmas is all about.
Actually, Granddad, Christmas is a pagan holiday. And Jesus probably hates you for celebrating it.
There ain't gonna be no Scrooges in this house, boy.
Look, Granddad, it's clear from the scripture that Jesus was not born in winter. The shepherds who saw the angels announcing his birth would not have been out in their fields in December. The Palestinian winters are too cold, if you believe in that sort of thing. The truth is, Christmas evolved from the Roman holiday Saturnalia, a winter festival where men gave gifts to each other. They also would get drunk, have sex with each other, and beat their wives. People would act so crazy on Christmas, the holiday was outlawed by the Protestant Church until the 1800s. As a matter of fact, the United States Congress... Granddad? Granddad!
I'm sorry, boy. What was that?
I just explained the entire history of Christmas.
But it was boring, Huey. You just blah, blah, gay sex, blah, blah, Congress. You know, you gotta be interesting.
You see that? He told him the whole truth. The whole truth, how it started. And as I was saying, that once they kind of blotted it out or whatnot, I'm sure he told him that it was banned in America up until about 1890. Because remember, something about the 1800s. So that's true. And anybody who knows the history can pretty much pinpoint what he was telling Granddad when Granddad was tuning them out. You know, and again, you know, it's kind of like that when you talk to a lot of iotas too, you know, because keep in mind, the older you get, the harder the mind has trouble with letting go. But he told him the truth though, but he tuned them out. But sat there and cried on some television show because we're so emotionally attached.
Well, let me begin by saying that nowhere in the Bible is the date of Jesus Christ's actual birth written or recorded, but we can get an approximate window of time in which he was born, according to the Bible. There are two reasons as to why Jesus could not have been born on December 25th. First, in the book of Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 4, we see that there was a decree, also known as an authoritative order, sent out by Caesar Augustus, that a census was to be taken. A census is the registration of citizens and their property for the purposes of being taxed. And so everyone was commanded to go back to their city. Joseph and Mary, the parents of Jesus Christ, were among those who had to travel back to Bethlehem. Such a census could not be taken in winter when temperatures often dropped below freezing and roads were in poor condition. This would have worked against the purpose of the census rather than for it. Our second clue as to what time of year it was can be found in Luke chapter 2 and verse 8, which states, "And there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night." It is commonly understood that when cold seasons were approaching, which was usually between October and November, the shepherds would usually find shelter for their herds instead of having them out in the field, as it would be very risky to have their livestock out in such conditions. So we can conclude from the Bible that Jesus was born well before December 25th. Now you are probably asking yourself, why then is there such an emphasis on the date of December 25th? Why not August 3rd or February 5th? History shows that December 25th was popularized as the date for Christmas, not because Christ was born on that day, but because it was already popular in pagan religious celebrations as the birthday of the sun. You see, December 25th had its beginnings with sun worship, which took place around the winter solstice, which was also dedicated to a false god by the name of Mithras. Now, the winter solstice is when days begin to lengthen in the northern hemisphere, which was referred to by pagans as the birthday of the unconquered sun. During the 3rd century, the Emperor Aurelian proclaimed December 25th as a special day dedicated to the sun god, whose cult was very strong in Rome at that time. As you start to study the significance of Christmas, you begin to see that it has nothing to do with celebrating the birth of Jesus and has everything to do with sun worship. So then who is responsible for attaching the day of sun worship to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? It was changed into a so-called Christian holy day by the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church is very popular for mixing and blending both Christian and pagan beliefs. Here is a statement directly quoted from one of their own cardinals on the matter. Cardinal Newman admits in his book that the temples, incense, oil lamps, votive offerings, holy water, holidays, and seasons of devotion, images, and statues are all of pagan origin. Now that's a pretty clear statement as to where Christmas was originated. So in conclusion, we see that the holiday known as Christmas has its origins in pagan beliefs and false gods and has no connection with our Lord Jesus Christ.
New York City has shaped Christmas, the modern secular Christmas we now celebrate, more than any other city in the world. And it's really because of the efforts of two very gifted New Yorkers who lived here in the 1800s. Clement Clark Moore, a New York professor of Oriental and Greek literature, had an idea that would change Christmas forever. In 1822, he wrote a 56-line poem he called A Visit from St. Nicholas, better known today as The Night Before Christmas. Almost single-handedly, he created the modern American vision of Christmas. His inspiration? Two legendary Christmas figures of the old world. One was St. Nicholas, a 4th century bishop renowned for gift-giving, legendary for leaving presents in stockings. The other was Sinterklaas, the Dutch version of St. Nicholas. Sinterklaas had merged a bit with Odin, the pagan god of Yule, who flew through the sky on an 8-legged horse. Moore introduced several new characteristics for Santa. He dressed him in American fur, gave him a pipe, and portrayed him not as a priest, but a jolly, dimpled elf with a twinkle in his eye. On his back, he toted a sack full of toys for the children of the house. Moore also gave him a sleigh that he flew through the sky, led not by a horse, but by 8 reindeer, each with its own name. As iconic as Clement Clark Moore's Santa was, he still wasn't the fully formed Kris Kringle we know today. His Santa still had no North Pole workshop, no elves, no letters from kids, and no naughty and nice list. Where did these details come from? Give the credit to another New Yorker, illustrator Thomas Nast. He took Moore's Santa and produced the definitive version for generations to come. In 1862, one of America's major magazines, Harper's Weekly, commissioned Nast to draw its Christmas illustrations. He transformed Moore's jolly old elf into someone taller and grander.
Nass does this year after year. He creates lots of the things we associate with Santa Claus. The list of naughty and nice, living at the North Pole, and that becomes the image of Santa Claus.
All right. So before we get started, we're gonna look at some reasons why we as a people don't celebrate what we call Christmas. So now that we're older, we back learning what Christmas is. We learn the truth about Christmas and what it represents. So we have all these movies growing up: Elf, Bad Santa, Home Alone, This Christmas. Would you say Santa Claus 1, 2, 3?
Santa Claus 1, 2, and 3, and the Santa Claus.
Yeah, Santa Claus 1, 2, 3, and the Santa Clauses. We have the commercials, the music, and we grow attached to it. And then when somebody try to tell us about Christmas and its pagan origins, one of the first things we do is we bring up the kids. That's what we do, right? Another thing, when we bring up Christmas, right? They tell us that Christmas is whose birthday? The person who we call Yeshua, Jesus today, right? But in Matthew the 2nd chapter and Luke the 2nd chapter, it never records his actual birth. And then even if hypothetically speaking that it did, which it doesn't, the people that we see the church doing, it has nothing to do with Jesus. Nothing. Greed, gifts, right? People getting drunk, people shooting and killing each other, right? So that being said, we're going to move on to the next one. Matter of fact, anybody remember what we learned that Christmas was called? Starts with an S? Saturnalia.
Look at this. The pagans put it right in your face. Wishing you happy Saturnalia, a reason for the season.
And the pagans had something called Saturnalia. And it was a time of lawlessness because all the laws were suspended. And people, a bunch of singers were actually wandered the streets naked singing. And then they had orgies, sexual orgies. And then they had orgies, sexual orgies. It was a mass thing. Well, when the Catholic Church came along in Italy, the Romans and others didn't want to give up their holidays. So they said, okay, we'll Christianize it. And so they said, okay, we'll say the birth of Jesus was the 25th of December.
So understand that the pagans are the reasons for the season, not your Jesus. And I know, hey, it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's easier when you chew it.
All right. So it says Saturnalia, and it says what? The real gay Christmas. And this gay ain't talking about happy. Oh, gay. Yeah. Remember we just saw in that clip from the Boondocks that Huey tried to warn Granddad about Saturnalia.
Actually, Granddad, Christmas is a pagan holiday. And Jesus probably hates you for celebrating it.
There ain't gonna be no Scrooges in this house, boy.
The truth is, Christmas evolved from the Roman holiday Saturnalia, a winter festival where men gave gifts to each other. They also would get drunk, have sex with each other, and beat their wives. People would act so crazy on Christmas, the holiday was outlawed by the Protestant church until the 1800s.
Remember that? And remember the Granddad, remember he tuned them out and said, all I remember was blah, 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 gay sex, blah, 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 Congress.
As a matter of fact, the United States Congress Granddad.
I'm sorry, boy. What was that?
I just explained the entire history of Christmas.
But it was boring, Huey. You just blah, blah, gay sex, blah, blah, Congress.
Remember he tuned them out and said, all I remember was blah, 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 gay sex, blah, 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 Congress. Tuned him out. He was trying to warn him about Saturnalia. So we're going to read about some of these things. So therefore, you will be able to educate your family and your friends when they begin to ask you about Christmas. So y'all have to pay attention to this before we get into Hanukkah, which is the Feast of Dedication. Because just so happened today is December 25th. And Hanukkah fell on the 25th. There were some people that said, you know what, we're going to keep it on 24 because it's too close to Christmas. And essentially, I don't blame them. I get it. I get it. All right. So that being said, let's scroll down a little bit. All right. So it says, follow me in merry measure as I tell you about what is about to become your new favorite holiday, Saturnalia. Oh, what a queer festival it was. So this is coming from somebody who loves Saturnalia. Y'all got that? And they said it's about to become your new favorite holiday. Got that? So it says, what is Saturnalia? We heard that in the clip, didn't we? It says Saturnalia was an ancient Roman festival held in mid-December to honor who? Saturn, not Jesus. It was to give homage, reverence, and to honor and pay respects to a deity known as Saturn. Y'all got that? You know, when people get married, they get wedding rings, right? The ring fingering, that is also in homage to the deity of Saturn. You can look up the pagan origins of wedding rings, and it is also to give homage to Saturn. Got that? So you might have some people say, well, I know that Christmas is pagan, and we don't do it, but yet they have wedding rings. That's the same custom. You can type in something like pagan origins of wedding rings, and you'll see that. The day Saturday, the deity was named after that. Saturday. Saturn. Y'all got that? Okay, cool. It says, the god of sowing, plenty, and agriculture. Though Saturnalia initially started as a one-day affair, it quickly grew into a 3-day and then a week-long festivity. Because you are going to do gay Christmas, you're going to do it right. It says, there's less solid historical information about lesbians and trans men, sadly, because, of course, they would have been there too. Y'all got that? Let's scroll down some. Under the picture, it says, many of our present-day Christmas traditions can be traced back to Saturnalia. Now, remember that Christian said that, right? It says, raise your hand, this is your first time learning this about Saturnalia. Okay, cool. It says, customs like decorating our homes with wreaths, singing, feasting, and what? Gift giving, all originated during this holiday. What do we see today during what we call Christmas? Singing, right?
Carols. Christmas carols.
Christmas carols, we call it today, right? Feasting, they get together and eat, right? Gift giving. You get people say, oh, well, you know what? I won't give on Christmas. I'll give a week before that. And then we could just say that, you know, it's just a gift. How many people have heard something close to that? Right? So, well, I don't celebrate Christmas, but, you know, I just do the gifts. Y'all got that? In the Bible, we have a time of gifting. That's during the Purim. But that's another topic which we will discuss during that season. Got that? So when they do the gift givings, remember you heard the guy say Christmas tree, pagan, right? Mistletoe, pagan. Gift giving, pagan. It's all pagan. Remember he was saying that, right? And now we're here. So it says other customs included schools being closed, businesses was halted, and the courts being out of session. Strict dress codes were loosened, with participants exchanging their togas for more colorful clothing, and even gambling was allowed. Remember, you heard the brother talked about how the laws at that time were suspended. Y'all remember that? All right. So remember, this is going to be important because you'll hear people say, well, why y'all doing Hanukkah? That's a Jewish day. Why y'all not doing Christmas? Just Jesus' birthday. And then you'll be able to explain to them, well, this is why we don't do Christmas. Because everything that you're doing, although you believe in Jesus, is attached to a ritual that goes back to another god called what? Saturn. And that's what we get Saturnalia. We also have another called Bacchanalia. Anybody heard of Bacchanalia? Raise your hand. I know you have. Now I think about it, because where you from? Yeah. So then it says poets wrote Saturnalia at the time that it was the best of days and a time when the whole mob has let itself go in pleasures. And then it goes on to say it was the best of days. Who heard the song? It's the most wonderful time of the year, right? You see where this stuff is coming from. Y'all got me? All right, let's continue. It says things go out of control that the author Pliny. Anybody heard of Pliny the Younger? That's what he's talking about here. But it says reportedly built a soundproof room so that he could work during the raucous celebrations. It says Lucian of Somasta listed drinking and being drunk, noise and game and dice, and singing naked as common Saturnalia activities. Now we on December the 25th, right? It says, this was still particularly holy day for the Romans. Official rituals were observed, sacrifices were made, and the statue of Saturn, whose feet were normally bound with wool, was unbound to symbolize liberation, meaning freedom, let loose. Got that? It was a time of letting loose. Y'all got that? Now, what day was this for? Now, look, we're going to jump down to the part, a few paragraphs down, but some Saturnalian practices, jokes, could go too far. We've heard Christmas jokes before, right? Yeah, it's Christmas jokes. Oh, yeah. Some that go too far, too. Yeah, It says one group of banqueting guests were literally suffocated by the weight of violets that were dropped through a false ceiling. Others might wake from a drunken debauch to find a pet tiger sniffing their crotch. Oh, yeah. Y'all see that? It says, some ways in which Saturnalia participants celebrated were, shall we say, less than traditional. The holiday is rumored to have featured lads. Who know what a lad is? A child, a boy. Lads running naked about the place, cross-dressing for dinner, tops becoming bottoms. Y'all know what that is, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Masters waiting on their servants, sausages, wine, cunnelings, and fruitcake. Yeah. I mean, role reversal isn't just for Saturnalia. It says, Elagabalus said he was delighted to be called the mistress, the wife, the queen of hierarchs, which was his lover, who was a charioteer. So look, y'all see where this is going back to? Yeah. Male prostitution is what my brother's speaking about. And we're going to read about this in the Bible. This customs is recorded in the Bible, y'all. So it says, origins of Christmas presents. Oh, we just want to just give a gift. Right? Everyone loves presents. And so did the Romans during the Saturnalia. They gave statues of beautiful youths and hermaphrodites, phallic cakes, meaning a cake with a penis. Yes.
Wait, they still do that.
They still do that, like sex parties and stuff like that. Yeah. So it says, books of filthy epigrams, cosmetics, and hair extensions for either sex. Not just statues either, but real life slave youth hermaphrodites would be given. It says in 63 CE, which is Common Era, it says Tiridates of Armenia came to Rome with his entourage of magi or wise men. You hear people that say, "Oh, you learn about the three wise men," even though the Bible never said three wise men, it just said wise men. It says, to end a drawn-out war to do homage to Emperor Nero. Anybody heard of Emperor Nero? He ruled from 54 AD to about 68 AD. He was the Roman emperor that burned down the city of Rome July 18th, 64 AD. This is before that. What? Yeah. And he was the one that blamed it on a group of people called Christians. Not to be confused with Christianity. All right. So it says, Roman Emperor Nero, that great bisexual showman of Roman history. Oh, yeah. They gave gifts. The wise men made their predictions, and Nero sang some early versions of 3 coins and a foundation. Sounds familiar today? Singing about the 3 wise men? Raise your hand, you heard that before. Oh, yeah. So, that being said, I want to go down to Christianity later. A little bit down, a few paragraphs down. It's right before the orders of Christmas.
Right before it?
Yeah, go back up, yeah. Here.
So stop.
Yeah, right there. It says Christianity later became the dominant religion of the Roman Empire. And so the birth of Jesus Christ was celebrated on December 25th and became more similar to the Christmas that we know today. This started in the Roman Empire. Y'all got that?
Yeah.
Gonna get a little more. Origins of Christmas trees. It says greenery was used to decorate the house during midwinter festivals. Somebody say midwinter festivals.
And
And that's plural, not singular, right? From ancient Rome to Tudor English Yuletide in the 1500s. Anybody heard of Yule? Huh? Yeah. Attached to another ritual. It says, yeah, we about to learn about it. Oh, yeah, we're going to learn. It says Christmas trees are an invention of the pagan North, a symbol of rebirth, or according to the tradition, a Christian replacement for the pagan oak in the spiritual lives of the ancient Germans. Y'all got that so far? Huh? All right. So that being said, I'm going to go down to the origin of the mistletoe. It says, kissing under the mistletoe has even queerer credentials. Almost lost in the midst of ancient lands that it came from. The Iron Age Britain, Ireland, and Gaul Druids were the professional classes and religious leaders. One of their jobs was to gather mistletoe at the winter solstice. Who knows when the winter solstice begins? Or around the time it begins? We're in it now. So what you know is winter. Who knows what solstice means?
Is it 6?
Sol is sun.
So.
That's the root word sol. Solstice is just the position of the sun. So you have the spring equinox, summer solstice, winter solstice. So at December 21st, the sun is at the lowest point of the sky. And in 3 days, it begins to rise. This is where you have people say, oh, well, Jesus born December 25th, and the sun at December 25th at the lowest part of the sky, and then it resurrects. The sun resurrects. Thus you have your Jesus.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I talked about this in a documentary a long time ago. They try to tie the S-U-N with the S-O-N. Yes. Anybody heard that before? Raise your hand. Well, see, I got to get her debating more. No, that's the topic. All right. But I did a documentary, Kemet versus the Bible on trial. I did like 3 of them, and I talked about that. It probably was in part 2, I believe. But it says, many Jews were also gay. It says, the otherness singling them out as special and holy. This was all good until that otherness meant they were called on to sacrifice themselves to save the tribe in times of war and want, poverty, and other struggles. If that happened and they were called to sacrifice themselves, they'd eat mistletoe berries, the juice of which was thought to be God's semen, God's sperm, in other words. The mistletoe. Got that? So when they kissing on the mistletoe, it was thought to believe that they were putting God's semen in their mouth.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So it says, do not try this at home. Mistletoe is poisonous. Origin of Christmas dinner. Oh, well, you know, I'm not going to do the gifts. I'm just going to go and eat with the family. Who've heard that before? I have. Right? No matter what excuse they give, the ritual that you're doing is attached to paganism. Y'all got that? So we have to learn about why we don't do Christmas, why we dismiss Christmas, before we go and learn about Hanukkah. What's happened around 160? Well, I'm going to get that year away later. So, origins of Christmas dinner. That's what we at. And this is what it says. Saturnalia was an enormous feast. Masters would serve their slaves, as all were equal in the golden age of Saturn's reign. So this is a time where if you were a master or a slave, everybody was equal during that day. It says, the well-heeled were supposed to let the less wealthy neighbors gorge their tables, but as Lucian, a 2nd century satirist, complains, they could very well tight-fist it. His revenge was to pray all their fine clothes be eaten by mice and pretty boyfriends' hair fall out. To avoid this, the gay emperor Hadrian preserved his lover's locks by insisting on sampling all the trimmings from all the tables at dinners he hosted.
These black people?
We're going to get to that too.
Oh, God.
Saturnalian dinners were just a prelude to something even better than a feast. At the 1st century Roman poet, Martial says, give me kiss, boy, wet with wine. If on top, you'll add a fuck. Jove. Now, Jove, anybody know who Jove is? Jove? That's Jupiter. All right? Jove couldn't be happier with his Gaimini that I am with mines. Oh, here it is right here. Look, I'll tell you right here as you keep reading.
What is that?
Jove, the next part.
Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah.
You see it right there? Jove is also known as Jupiter. And anybody who has the Bible, you just look at Jupiter in Acts chapter 14, verse 13. Click on the word Jupiter. It'll tell you Zeus, also known as Jove, also known as Dis, also known as Zeus. So it has different names. But Jove is Jupiter. All right? Y'all got that so far?
I didn't know.
Like the planet. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
So it says, Jupiter, who was the king of the gods and the god of the sky. And Ganymede is the moon of Jupiter. So he is comparing the relationship with his lover to that of the relationship with Jupiter and one of his moons. All right. Let's scroll down to let's see. Origin of peace, goodwill at Christmas. Let's deal with that real quick. All right. It says, the great tradition of tolerance and warm that Christmas borrowed from the gay Roman Saturnalia is with us still. Jesus is a God of love, even if some of his followers forget that. Y'all hear that? It says, as the pagans in the 4th century fought to preserve their ways and festivals, one of them made an equivalent plea to a Christian emperor.
This their excuse?
Huh?
This their excuse to
Yeah.
be gay?
Hey, look, we're going to get to it. It says, it serves just as well for a Christmas message. We gaze up at some of the stars. The sky covers us all. The same universe encompasses us. Does it matter what practical system we adopt in our search for truth? The heart of so great mystery cannot be reached by following one road only. So now we see Saturnalia attached to gay festivities, right? It is also attached to, we just got on looking with, the constellations. I think y'all need to pay attention to what I just told y'all. It is also attached to the constellations in the sky. Anybody know where I'm going with that? Raise your hand if you know.
Astrology.
All right, astrology. But there's something else that I'm going with. Nope. We're gonna get to that in a second. Just remember what we just saw here. Where it says we gaze up at some of the stars, right? They gave homage to these stars. And they feared these stars. Because remember, Jupiter was attached to a Roman deity. He was a god of the sky, right? Dealing with the constellations. Are y'all following me? I'm going to go ahead and give a snippet real quick. Go to Jeremiah chapter 10 real quick.
Yeah.
Check this out. Jeremiah chapter 10. Remember, Ecclesiastes 1:9 tells us no new thing under the sun, right? Nothing new under the sun. No, put it up here so everybody can see. Yeah.
Oh, you already got it?
Yeah. There's no new thing under the sun. Jeremiah 10, verse 1. On the blue letter, yeah. There we go.
Oh, you want me to type it in?
Yeah. Uh-huh. JER, and then you just put 10. Hit enter. All right, cool. All right. Jeremiah 10, verse 1, it says, hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Verse 2. It says, thus saith the Lord. Thus saith who, Quincy? The Lord. What's the first two words? Learn what? Learn not the way of the heathen, which comes from the Hebrew word goy, which means, goyim is plural. Goy, which means nation, race, people. Don't learn what the other race of people is doing. Don't learn their ways. Don't follow their ways, in other words. Don't do what they do. Got that? It says, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. Didn't we just got done talking about astrology? Remember that? Jupiter, right? That's where I'm going with that. The signs of the heavens. So don't be dismayed at it because they gave homage to these things.
They'll say that's proof.
Yeah.
They be doing it because it's a fun.
Yeah.
That don't.
Even that, and even dealing with, oh, well, you know, I'm an Aquarius. And Aquarius means this.
Girls do that a lot.
Yeah. So it says, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Remember, they gave homage to these things. Remember, we learned earlier, we gaze up at some of the stars. The sky covers us all. The same universe encompasses us. Remember that, y'all? It says, verse 3, for the customs, what's another word for customs?
Rituals.
Riches, what you say? That's the word I'm looking for. Y'all heard what he said? What he said? Traditions. For the traditions of the people, what people, y'all? The heathen. It says are vain. You know what vain means? Meaningless, worthless, of no value. Let's look at the tradition or custom. It says, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest the work of the hands of the workman with an axe. So now we got a workman who has an axe, who's using his hands to cut a tree out of the forest. Got that? Remember, there's nothing new under the sun, right? There's no new thing under the sun. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9. Then it says in verse 4, they deck it, meaning they what? Decorate it. What that sound like? Yeah. Remember, ain't nothing new under the sun. What's been going on back then, we see traces of it today. So you get people, oh, well, that's not associated with Christmas. But in what other tradition and what custom do we see today where people cutting a tree out of the forest and decorate it with and looked at as an idol? When you bend down to get your gifts up, you were bowing to an idol.
They find movies with them taking it out the forest.
Yeah.
Putting it on top of a car.
Yeah.
Then putting it on.
The tree is an idol. When you start learning about Yule, the log, the wood, all of these things are attached to another deity. And everybody today that are caught up in religion and Christianity are partaking in this ritual. Y'all got that? So it says they deck it with silver and with gold. Whoever heard that song in the Christian church? Silver and gold. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Hold it down, y'all. Hold it down. Hold it down. Y'all remember, I'm recording. It says they fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not. So they cut this tree out of the forest, this workman with an axe, and they fasten it with nails and hammers so that it don't move, it don't tip over. Got that? Today, some people just they take the cheap route, go to the store, maybe like some stores, and they set the tree up. But it's the same concept. Got that? Verse 5, it says, they are upright as the palm tree. That is also important. That's going to be one of your homework. I talked about it in my video, Dear Santa, Christianity Exposed. Why the palm tree? Why did he compare that to a palm tree? So, you know? Okay, go ahead. Evergreen tree, that's one. It was worshipped as a deity. They would have sex with the tree.
Wait, hold on. The tree hugging or tree?
That too. It has sex with the tree. Yeah. Hold it down, y'all. Hold it down. It says, hold it down, y'all.
It's a name for that. Tree hugging. This is the name for it, though.
Hold it down, y'all. It says they're upright as the palm tree, but speak not. Meaning this deity that you're worshiping, it doesn't speak. It says, they must needs be born, meaning it needs to be carried, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither is it also in them to do any good. Remember Jeremiah 10:2 told us to learn not the way of the heathen, right? Don't do what they do. These customs are vain. It's worthless. It is of no value. So, what did we just learn so far?
Sex with trees.
Sex with trees. Yeah. Now look, this one here. Click on that one. All right. We got a few more before we get started on this. All right. It says the wild holiday that turned ancient Rome upside down. So you see this photo right here? Scroll up some more. Okay. So in this photo, you learn about Dionysus and Aridine. That's important. Anybody heard of Dionysus? He was known as the god of what? Anybody know? Anybody know? Raise your hand. Alcohol, the god of wine. Yeah. So it says, Happy Saturnalia. This ancient Roman holiday honors Saturn, the god of seed sowing, and celebrates the promise of a spring harvest. Originally just one day, over the centuries, the festivities grew to last a whole week, starting on December 17 and coinciding with the winter solstice. In Rome, the holiday was kicked off with a religious ceremony in the temple of Saturn, followed by a free public banquet open to all. Business and law courts were closed so everyone could take part. Don't it sound like today? Do Christmas, everything shuts down pretty much?
Well, nothing open today.
Well, nothing open. You see what I'm saying?
7-Eleven.
So it says, hold it down, y'all. Matter of fact, we're gonna scroll down to some. Scroll all the way down to wax candles. Scroll down. Yeah, keep going.
No.
Right there. Wax candles. Okay. So pay attention, y'all. It says wax candles and oil lamps were also popular Saturnalia gifts. Now check this out. Look at how Satan does, right? We got our light, our menorah. Y'all see what I'm saying? We got our menorah that has been going back from centuries, long before Saturnalia. And now they have lamps, right? Today, Christmas is also associated with lights, right? So it says, during the dark days around the solstice, candles were reminders of the return of the sun after winter. In Roman homes, wax candles were placed as offerings on household altars to Saturn, especially during the final days of the festival. This was practical too. Lots of lamps were needed to light the nighttime celebrations. It says this terracotta lamp has separate nozzles for 6 wicks. Now remember, our menorah is a 7 branch. It says, allowing it to burn with strength of 6 little lamps. The crescent-shaped handle probably refers to Luna, the moon goddess, and the semicircle of burning flames could represent the sun itself, the god Sol, like the sun. Got that? Y'all got that? Now it says, marital playful descriptions of over 200 Saturnalia gifts, including what? A lamp with many wicks, like this, and a bedroom lamp. I am a lamp. It says, confident of your sweet bed. You may do whatever you will. I shall be silent. Now, the next thing I want to go to is the, hold on one second. Did I put that there? Let's see. Where did I put it? 1 second. Okay, yeah. Here. Matter of fact, hold on. Wait, no. We just gonna go back to that. Hold on, wait. Let's scroll down to the glass part right there.
Just stay with
No, drinking parties. You see drinking parties? Go scroll up a little bit right there. Right there. It says drinking parties were an important part of Saturnalia, a time to drink the most delightful drinks and to be accumulated a better singer in your cups than the next man. In the words of the ancient satirist Lucian, go ahead, grab it. It says, in the ancient world, wine was always mixed with water and sometimes honey or spices in a large bowl. So we see here it was attached with drinking, right? Let's scroll down a little bit more real quick.
You want to see the drop?
Yeah, keep going. Yeah. Keep going right there. It says the glass pictured above from the Eastern Mediterranean likely held many cups of wine and has a fitting festive inscription. Rejoice and be of good cheer. Don't this sound like Merry Christmas? It says, besides flowing wine, holiday feasts included pork, since fattened pigs were a popular Saturnalia gift, as well as winter vegetables, dried fruits, and dates, and sweet cakes. Yeah. So I'm going to read this last little paragraph here. It says Saturnalia was celebrated well into late antiquity. With the rise of Christianity, the pagan holiday was removed from official calendars. Y'all hear that? So the Saturnalia that we know today was removed from official calendars because of the rise of the Christian church. Y'all got that?
Oh, they war?
Huh?
Like they strive with each other?
Oh, we get to that.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to all this about the last. Yeah. It's whole questions.
Dates, like dates or the dates, the food?
Hold on, wait, hold the questions because remember I'm doing this video and we're going to get to all of that. Yeah. It says Saturnalia was celebrated well into late antiquity with the rise of Christianity. The pagan holiday was removed from official calendars, but carried on as a popular secular holiday. Many of Saturnalia's traditions, which we celebrate the hope of harvest and a bright future during the dark winter, were incorporated into celebrations of Christmas and the New Year. So the things that people are doing today, doing Christmas, goes back to what holiday? Saturnalia. What are some of the things that we learn about Saturnalia?
They gifts, like pork is gifts.
Pork is gifts. What else? Huh? Gay sex, gay rituals, everything shutting down. Candles started in December.
A lot of water.
Right? A lot of drinking. Gay orgies. Got that? Yeah. Last one. Go to this one right here at the very end. All right. So
The variants. Right?
yeah. It says the pagan origins of Christmas, Saturnalia. Right? Matter of fact, we'll deal with that. It says Yule and other pre-Christian traditions. All right. It says the origins of Christmas can be traced back to the ancient Roman and Norse civilizations. In fact, the 25th of December was not even Jesus' date of birth. The early Christians, it says what? Appropriated what was originally a pagan holiday because it was convenient. Before that, the people of ancient Europe had celebrations of the pagan god Saturn, or even who? Odin. Anybody heard of Odin? Raise your hand. All right, we got some people who know about that. Okay, cool. At the end of December, to mark the shortest day of the year. Indeed, many of the Christmas traditions we have today came from these ancient festivals. Examples of this include kissing under the mistletoe and decorating trees. Got that? Let's scroll down. What are the pagan orders of Christmas? Got that? The orders of Christmas, you see that? Mm-hmm. All right, cool. It says the orders of Christmas are complex and intertwined with various cultures and religious traditions, including some pagan elements. While Christmas is primarily celebrated as a Christian holiday commemorating the birth of Jesus Christ, it coincides with the winter solstice and incorporates elements from pre-Christian traditions. The winter solstice for the Northern Hemisphere takes place on December 22nd. December, the day when the Earth's axis is tilted furthest away from the sun. Remember we talked about solstice, the position of the sun? This is during your winter. All right? It says it is the shortest day of the year and is meant to mark the beginning of what? Winter in the Northern Hemisphere. But it is also a time of hope because the days has begun lengthening again as spring is coming. All right. So who heard of the winter solstice before?
Heard of it. I don't know what it is.
Heard of it? Okay, cool. All right. So it says ancient civilizations around the world, though this was worthy of great celebration. When the early Christians linked these winter solstice celebrations with Christmas, it simply made the birth of Yeshua, or Jesus, that much more auspicious. A lot of people in the modern world may not even know that this winter celebration actually has nothing to do with the scriptures and religion. They may even be more surprised to learn that Christmas celebrations like decorating with holly, putting up Christmas trees, and kissing under the mistletoe are rooted in ancient fertility rituals. These are all symbolic acts to celebrate the fertility of the earth and the approach of the sowing season. Let's go down a little bit. Who were the pagans? Who've heard of the word pagan before? We've heard the guy earlier say that Christmas tree pagan, mistletoe pagan, gift giving pagan, right? Now we have who are the pagans. It says, before throwing the word pagan around, we should first discuss what it means. Who were pagans exactly? Paganism was originally a word used by the early Christians to refer to the polytheistic Romans, meaning they worship many deities. All right, we know what poly means, multiple, plural. Theistic, theos, gods. All right. It says, what it is essentially means is a non-Christian. It says it could apply just as well to the Norse people in Scandinavia or the ancient Celts in the British Isles. As the Christian missionaries begin to roam around Western Europe and the larger world, they used the term pagan to refer to anyone who did not share their beliefs on religion. The multiple gods were classed within the single category, pagan gods. Y'all understand that? It says, but y'all understand that? Okay, cool. Let's scroll down to the Romans and Saturnalia festival real quick. It says, do you also said the people of ancient Rome? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
Oh, you want me to read?
No, I got it. It says the people of ancient Rome celebrated the winter solstice with the festival of Saturnalia. It was meant as a way to celebrate and give thanks to the Roman god of agriculture, Saturn. It says, if she just cried, just like, kind of just, take it back because remember, record. It says, by the time of the winter solstice came out, the last planting season had been completed. Thus, the ancient Romans could then happily engage in an entire week of festivities. The Saturnalia festival was usually celebrated between December 17th of December and the 24th of December. Even now, Christmas is not really a celebration of one day. It is called the Christmas season. Whoever had the reason for the season, right? Yeah. It says, and festivities start well in advance of December 25th. Think about it. People start putting up Christmas lights, Christmas shopping, planning for Christmas during that season.
They say that the Christmas season is the Christmas season with a holiday inside it. So it's Christmas season immediately after Halloween.
Yeah. So it says, in Saturnalia Festival, the 25th of December was considered the climax and had a special name, Brahmalia. Y'all got that? It says, during Saturn and Brahmalia, all social hierarchies were overturned. The people, including Roman slaves, indulged in widespread of merrymaking. You hear the merry in so-called Christmas, they say. The slaves could even take part in public celebrations and not work on the last day of the festival. Public gambling, remember we learned about dice earlier, was a big event, and everyone was allowed to wear colorful clothes. It says the farthing cap worn by the freed Roman slaves was worn as a symbol of freedom of the season. Remember, even during the statue of Saturnalia, they loosened the feet, right? Let the season of letting loose. It says many of the modern Christian traditions originated in the ancient Roman Empire. Now, scroll down to what was Yule. I think we're in it with that. You said the Yule? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Right there. What was Yule? It says under that picture. Hold on. Under that picture, look at what it says. Go back up real quick.
Under the picture or show the picture?
Scroll back up. Right there. There's a caption under that picture. Christmas. You see that? Mm-hmm. What'd that say?
Christmas with the Yule log.
With the Yule what?
Log.
A Yule log. All right. It says, other than Saturnalia, scroll down. Yeah, other than Saturnalia, one of the festivals that had a huge influence on Christmas was Yule, celebrated largely by the Norse people in Northern Europe. Many of the old Yule traditions became Christmas traditions today. The celebrations lasted for how many days? 12 days. On the 12th day of Christmas, blah, 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 blah. Y'all got that?
What does that even mean? There's only one.
Oh, we get to it. It says, and how many reindeers is it? 12. So it says, the celebrations lasted for 12 days and huge bonfires was lit. There go your lighting in the fireplace, lighting the fire. All of these customs are literally attached to it. So it says, feasting and drinking were a big part of celebrations. Christmas dinner, Santa Claus, right? With his cookies and milk, right?
Where that come from?
Hold up. Whole questions. Remember, we got whole questions. Remember, yeah. So we got clause dealing with a contract, right? That's what clause means. Santa, S-A-N-T-A, right? Satan, S-A-T-A-N. Dealing with a contract and a clause of Satan that people are attaching themselves to during this festivities of Yule and Saturnalia, Brahmalia. So it says, the night before Yule was called Mother's Night. The Yule what? Tree. The Yule tree was decorated around the time of the winter solstice. And the Yule log would be lit. Y'all hear that? It would be what? What that sound like?
Campfire.
Christmas lights.
Oh.
Yeah, Christmas lights. It says the Yule log would be lit. Yeah, I think that's you doing. Okay, yeah. It said would be lit. It says, where we at? So that families could feast and be merry by the fire all night. Don't that sound like Christmas today? The Yule ham, don't they be loving a ham on Christmas?
They do.
Was a huge aspect of this celebration since the boar or the pig was sacred to the pagan god Freyr. The Christians have literally appropriated many of these traditions to celebrate Christmas. Remember, during the rise of Christmas, the Saturnalia, the Yule concept went to the background while the Christians' traditions was put forward, and they just Christianized it. Just like what that man said on that clip. They just Christianized it. So the things that people are doing today is the same rituals. It's just called Christmas today. Y'all got that? So it says, another important pagan holiday during the winter solstice was the Greek god Dionysus. The Greek god of wine was celebrated with wild revelry. They were getting drunk, feast and drunkenness, and merrymaking over 12 days. His birthday was supposed to be on December 25th. The festivals was called Bacchanalia and was one marked by the wildness and excess. Y'all got that? It says, in Finland, the sun goddess Biui was celebrated during this time. She was said to ride on a sleigh made of reindeer bones and pulled by a white reindeer. Perhaps she was the precursor to Santa Claus. Does that sound familiar today, y'all? Now look, this one here. Oh, no, that one there. No. This one here, we're going with that one there. Yeah, that one. Okay. The question that I put for you all is Saturnalia and Bacchanalia connected? It says, yes, Saturnalia and Bacchanalia are connected, as though they were both ancient Roman festivals characterized by revelry and feasting, although they honored different gods. So even though they honored different gods, it's still connected. The customs were passed on. Y'all got that? The Christians are doing the same thing, but they're attaching it to another god, the God of the Bible. Y'all understand that? Okay, it says, Saturnalia celebrated the god Saturn, while Bacchanalia celebrated the god Bacchus, dealing with the wine. Y'all got that? So, let's go down to the distinctive focus. Scroll down. Scroll up. Yours don't have it. Don't worry about it. I'll read it. It says distinctive focus. It says while Saturnalia was more focused on the agricultural aspects of Saturn, the god of time and harvest, Bacchanalia was centered around the wild and ecstatic nature of the Bacchus, the god of wine. Now let's go to this here. That one right there. Oh, yeah, Bacchanalia. So it says a Bacchanalian fraternity. Somebody say fraternity. Is a fraternal society of professional and amateur. A matter of fact, no, we're gonna scroll down tripping. No. History. It says it is believed that Bacchanalian rituals first started in southern Italy and were introduced to Etruria and Rome. They probably originated from the Greek, what we know as Dionysus festival. Historically, they were secret gatherings, extreme orgies. Y'all hear that? It says were a natural part of the entertainment. The members of Bacchanalian gatherings were called Bacchanals, and their sanctuary a Bacchanal. Somebody say Bacchanal. One more time. Somebody say Bacchanal. It says, hold it down, y'all. It says, the initiation to join the group lasted 10 days, during which the applicant must refrain from sex. At its origins, the Bacchanalian societies were made up of women only. The campaign matron, I can't pronounce her name, but Pacilia Anea, eventually changed the method of celebration by admitting men and going from a 3-day annual gathering to a 5-day monthly gathering. Around 186 BC, hold it down, y'all. It says around 186 BC, the Roman Senate found out about those unofficial Bacchanalian rituals and launched a repressive campaign against it. It is estimated that 7,000 members were prosecuted amidst a violent repression. The women were returned to their families for private punishments, while the men were imprisoned or executed. The destruction of all Bacchanalia was ordered by the Roman authorities. It says the Sentus Octorius de Bacchanalibus decree was passed to forbid any future similar order. Now remember, we learned earlier that Christmas was even outlawed in America until what year?
1890.
1890. Now, what did we just learn about this Bacchanalia?
It was women only.
At first it was women only, and then what else?
It changed.
And it changed. So we can see the same customs are also being attached to a ritual of another deity, right? Okay. What else can you tell? Who else can tell me something?
Saturnalia pays homage to Saturn, the god of agriculture, and Bacchanalia pays homage to Bacchus, which is the god of alcohol.
Okay. That is correct. All right. Now, dealing with the Feast of Dedication, these events took place about a little more than 150 years before Christ. All right. How many years, y'all? That's the same distance between Frederick Douglass. And what? Yeah, between us and Frederick Douglass, correct. Who was born about 1817, 1818, I want to say. Now, real quick. Now, one of the things we all may watch, I know I'm watching doing dedication, about the Rugrats. Man, the Rugrats did a show on the topic back in 1996. All right. And I remember seeing this as a youngster. And it's season 4, episode 1, I believe. And I remember like yesterday. I didn't know at the time that, of course, that the Israelites was black. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that these were my ancestors. And what was crazy, I remember they had like Hebrew letters in it. And the cartoon is crazy that I can actually read it now. You know what I'm saying? So I always thought that was that was very great. You know what I'm saying? How they put that in there. Now, if you get the original King James version of the Bible, for those of you who are watching this, we're gonna we look at the first 4 chapters of Maccabees, and then you watch this cartoon. I'm gonna try to find a link, and I'm gonna have it in the description. Then you watch the Rugrat cartoon on Hanukkah. Historically, this event that we partake in today, it came from a historical account that is now known today as the Maccabean revolt or the Maccabean rebellion, which was our forefathers rededicating the Second Temple after taking down what is known as the Seleucid dynasty during the 2nd century BC. The reason it's known as Seleucid dynasty is because it is named after a man by the name of Seleucus I of Nicator, which we are going to go into in a second. And there was a man by the name of Yehuda Maccabean, which we know today as Judah Maccabee. He was the man that led our ancestors during this revolt and rose up against Greek oppression. I'm going to tell you that again. Judah Maccabee or Judas Maccabee. It was this man that led our ancestors during the revolt and rose up against Greek oppression. He had 4 brothers, which we'll learn about later during this season. Before getting into this lesson, I want us to look at some key words first. All right. The first one we're going to look at is the word menorah. Raise your hand if you've heard of menorah. Let me 1 second real quick. I believe that should be everybody. You have the 7 candlestick or the menorah. Now the Jewish people, you may see them with 8 or 9 branches. All right. And that's not biblical. In the Bible, we learn about 7 candlesticks, not 8 or not 9, but 7. Y'all got that? Okay. So let's go ahead to the Bible. Let's go to Judges chapter 4 real quick.
Oh, you got it.
Blew that by, yeah, Judges 4.
Pull it up.
Yeah. Judges chapter 4. And I want you to look at the 21st verse.
21.
Yeah, we first gonna Judges 4 and verse 21. Tell me when you're there.
I'm there.
All right. Go ahead, read verse 21. What it say?
Then Jael, Heber's wife, took a nail of the tent and took a hammer.
Took a what?
Took a hammer.
We could stop right there. What's the word he just said?
Hammer.
Hammer. Now, for those who are watching this, I make a bet. Click on the word for hammer real quick. Right there. Hold on, wait. Okay, you can just scroll down because I don't want to make no. Go back up. Go back up. Yeah. Right. Right there. Click on that word right there.
I didn't know you can click that.
Yeah, click on
Which
that.
word? What?
Right here. Yeah, right. Yeah, click on that. Yeah. Boom. Okay. All right, then go ahead to the Strong's, the H. What number is that?
H. What?
Yeah. All right. Maccabean. That's the word that we know as a hammer. Got that? So when we learn about in the Apocrypha, Maccabees, that's where it comes from the Hebrew word Maccabeth or Maccabeth. It means a hammer. So we learn about Judah Maccabee. He was known as Judah the what?
Hammer.
The hammer. And he was laying it down. He brought the hammer down for sure. So the word hammer in Hebrew again is Maccabeth or Maccabeth. All right, which means hammer, right? Let's go to Exodus 25:32 real quick. Exodus chapter 25. Verse 32. All right. So I'm gonna read the verse. It says, Exodus 25:32, it says, and 6 branches came out on the sides of it. You see the 6 branches right here, y'all. Right? It says, 3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side, and the 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side, which is you see here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And you have the one in the middle. Y'all got that? So let me go back and show my screen again. It says, and 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of one side, and 3 branches out of the candlestick out of the other side. All right, go ahead, click on that Hebrew word for menorah. Go ahead. H4501, menorah. Scroll down. Now you can click on the sound of it. Let's speak here.
Strong's H4501, menorah. Menorah.
All right, scroll down, show them what it means.
Lampstand.
A lampstand. All right. Then it says what? A chandelier, a candlestick. Y'all got that? So now when we see menorah, it means a candlestick or lampstand. Y'all got that? Raise your hand if that's the first time you knew that. It's the first time hearing about that. All right. Got a few first handers. Let's go to the book of Ezra. Ezra. Ezra chapter 6. I'm going to look at verse 16. Ezra 6 and 16. Okay, so it says, and the children of Israel, the priests and the Levites, it says, and the rest of the children of the captivity kept what? The dedication of this house of God with what? Joy. That's what we're going to be doing. So go ahead, click on that word real quick. And what is it? And click on the speaker. What does it say?
Strong's H2597, Hanukkah. Hanukkah.
Oh, Hanukkah.
That's where we get Hanukkah from. Yeah. Now click on it real quick. Scroll down.
Wait.
Yeah. Scroll down. Scroll down. What does it say? Dedication. So that's where we get the Feast of Dedication. Hanukkah. Hanukkah means dedication. That's just one of the meanings. All right. Now that we got that, let's go to St. John chapter 10 real quick. St. John chapter 10. Yep. And verse 22. Now, when dealing with dedication, guys, dedication, inaugurate. Whoever heard of inauguration? Like inauguration, right? It's initiate because it both signifies the beginning of something. This is also where you get the Hebrew word Hanukkah, to dedicate, all right, as well. It's the beginning of something new. Y'all got that? All right, St. John chapter 10, verse 22. What does it say?
It was at Jerusalem.
It was where?
Jerusalem.
The
Feast of the dedication.
The feast of what?
Dedication.
Go ahead.
And it was winter.
So now we got the Feast of Dedication. And what season is it in? Winter. Got that? Read it again.
And it was at Jerusalem, the Feast of the Dedication. And it was winter. And Yeshua walked in the temple in Solomon's porch.
Come on.
Then came the Jews round about him and said unto him,
What they say to Christ?
How long dost thou make us to doubt?
Right.
If thou be the Christ, tell us plainly.
Meaning, if you be the Messiah, tell us plainly. And they asking him this at where? What was it called? What they were talking to him at?
Solomon's porch.
No. The Feast of Dedication. So Christ was at what? Not Christmas though, right? But he was at the Feast of Dedication though. Got that? Now, you might hear people say, Chag, Hanukkah, Sameach. Chag is a festival. Hanukkah, dedication. Sameach, happy. Chag, Hanukkah, Sameach is what you may hear people say. Dedication. Hanukkah, to inaugurate. To initiate is the beginning of something new. Something that is dedicated, something that's consecrated. Y'all got that? So you might also hear people say Chag Hanukkah Sameach. They call it what do they call it? Happy inaugural holidays or happy holidays of inauguration. You'll hear some people say that too. All right, just so you're like, wait, what is that? Now, who knows what month, the name of the month that the Feast of Dedication is celebrated in? What month is that called? The month of what? Nope.
The Hebrew month.
What's the name of the Hebrew month? Anybody know? Let's go to Zechariah chapter 1 real quick. Zechariah 1. Because we ain't got, you know what I'm saying? I'm still recording. Zechariah chapter 7, I mean. Zechariah chapter 7. And read verse 1 real quick.
It came to pass in the 4th year of King Darius that the word of the Lord came into Zechariah in the 4th day of the 9th month, even in Chislev.
Chislev. That's important. Now, the month Chislev, or what we know as Kislev. Now, I'm going somewhere with this. Go to Nehemiah 1:1 real quick as well. Nehemiah chapter 1.
The words of Nehemiah, the son of Shaliah. And it came to pass in the month Chislev, in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan, the palace.
So the month of Kislev, click on that real quick. What's up, guy? You know how to read that. Boy, crazy.
Yeah, I skipped it.
His confidence. All right, what does it say?
Hebrew.
Click on it.
Strong's H.
Yeah, scroll down.
Strong's H, 3691. Kislev.
Right there.
Kislev.
Kislev, also known as Kislev. Y'all see that right there? Means his confidence. What month is this? The 9th month of the calendar corresponds to what time of the year?
November, December.
So during the 9th month is the Gregorian calendar's 12th month. Y'all got that? So we're now in the 9th month Hebraically, but we're in the 12th month Gregorianly. Got that? On your Gregorian calendar. The calendar was created 1582. The person who got the credit for that is Pope Gregory III. That's another topic. I'll be doing a lesson on that in the future. So that being said, what month are we in, y'all? Kislev, that's the name of the month. But what month is it? 9th month. Anybody remember what Kislev means? Say it again. Absolutely. His confidence. Now, we just saw that it's from what time of the year? November to December. So sometimes you'll see where dedication is kept in November, and sometimes you'll see this in December. Got that? Depending on the moon cycle. Now, for the viewers, our oppressors knew and understood. When I say our oppressors, we're mainly dealing with the Greeks. They understood that if they can keep us from keeping the commandments and practicing our culture, then they can keep us in sin. And that our God will never stand up to defend us. So, before we get into this, let's go to the book of, go to the Apocryphal. Right there, yeah. At the top. No. Right there, yeah. Apocryphal. Judith, chapter 5, verse 17 through 20.
Oh, I love this one.
And for anybody who want to know about the Apocrypha, I did a lesson. This is for the viewers. Back in 2016, it's called Apocrypha on Trial, because today it was voted out of y'all religion. That's a whole nother topic. The Apocrypha was and is a part of the original King James Version of the Bible. It just means hidden in secret. So we're going to the book of Judith, chapter 5, verse 17 through 20. All right, this is what it says. You there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, cool. You got 17 to 20?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It says, and while they sinned not before their God, they prospered. Y'all see what they said about our people? Because the God that hated iniquity was with them. Verse 18. But when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles, very sore, and were led captives or slavery into a land that is not theirs. Same thing that happened to us during the transatlantic slave trade. Nothing new under the sun. It says, and the temple of their God was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies. But now are they returned to who? Their God. And are come up from the places where they were scattered, and have possessed or owned Jerusalem, where the sanctuary is. And it is very important, y'all, dealing with our temple and our sanctuary. Has everything to do with our menorah and everything to do with dedication. So it says, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. Now, therefore, my Lord and governor, he's giving his governor advice. And he's telling them about the Israelites, our ancestors, these black Jews. So it says, if there be any error against this people and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin. So in other words, if the children of Israel, if they're going against their God, they're going to be destroyed. Got that? Because they got the God that defends them, but only when they follow the rules. Only when they keep the law of God. That's the only time that their God will defend them. And if they're not following the law of God, we can go up and defeat them. In other words, your oppressors been knowing this about us. And as long as they can keep us doing Christmas, as long as they can keep us doing things such as eating pork, kissing under mistletoe, your God is not going to defend you. You understand that? So it says, and let us go up and we shall overcome them. So he knew and understood that if they ain't doing what they're supposed to be doing, we can overcome them. We can beat them. Verse 21, but if there be no iniquity or sin in their nation, meaning they're not going against their God, we're in verse 21. It's all good. Yeah, just scroll down to verse 21. So, in verse 21, he says, but if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now what? He told the governor to do what? Keep it moving. Don't go messing with them if they don't have iniquity in them. AKA, if they are obeying God, he said, hey, look, we need to keep it moving. Remember, everybody knew and understood. We got the God that parted the Red Sea. You don't want to anger that God. It says, by lest their what? Their Lord defend them. So if they got no iniquity, let us keep it moving because their God is going to help them. Their God is going to defend them. Their God is going to rescue them. Pay attention. This has everything to do with dedication. Because they have been trying to stop us from worshiping our God. Because they know that our God will not defend us if we are disobedient. Y'all got that? Okay. It says, and their God be for who? For them. And we become a what? A shame or an embarrassment or a reproach before all the world. All those people who were once slaves beat y'all. You know how embarrassing that would be to the heathen? Even today, if the so-called African Americans stood up and went against the heathens today, the same people that was enslaved, the same people that got nothing, the same people that has been rejected and despised of everybody, come and defeat them. Y'all understand that? So before we continue, what we learn about that? What we learn about that? Anything. So why would he say that that what would happen? I mean, why would God not defend the children of Israel if we didn't what? Absolutely. And he would defend us if we did what? So obviously they would have wanted us not to do what? Absolutely. Everybody understand that? All right. So now we go into 2 Maccabee chapter 6. That was very good. Okay. So 2 Maccabees chapter 6. Check this out. It says.
Did I say 7?
Chapter 6.
I said it.
Yeah. There we go. Chapter 6. All right, cool. 2 Maccabees chapter 6. It says, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens. Who know what Athens is today? Greece. Absolutely. Anybody disagree with that? I hope not. It says, sent an old man of Athens to compel or force the Jews to what? Depart from what?
The law.
Of the who? Father. Y'all see that? Y'all understand that? They wanted the Israelites to leave the laws of their ancestors. Now, why do you think that is? So that our God wouldn't do what? Defend us. Y'all got that? Yeah. So there's nothing new under the sun. From the ancient time, the heathen, from the ancient times, have always been trying to keep us from following the God of our ancestors so they can have power and rule over us. Y'all got that? All right, it says, and not to live after the laws of God. Verse 2, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of who? Jupiter Olympus. Remember we learned earlier that Jupiter is who? Yeah. I mean, Jove is who? Jove, which is Jupiter, right? Zeus. You learn in history, if we got time, we're going to from Babylon, Timbuktu, page 83. We learn that they were sacrificing swine's flesh to the temple of Jupiter. Just like we learned the custom of Yule, Saturnalia, pork was the most preferred animal. Now remember, if the children of Israel were eating pork, our God wouldn't do what? Defend us, because eating pork is against who? Oh, but the Christian church says, oh no. What about Peter's vision? They love to twist that. Acts 10. They'll read 10 through 12, or 10 through 15, but they won't read down to 28. And we know the other scriptures that they twist. That's a whole another topic, though. So it says that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. The coming in of this, what? Mischief was sore and grievous to the people. Why you think that your ancestors had a problem with that? Because they were what? Why was it grievous? What we just read?
The law.
What about the law?
They got to keep it to get God.
Right, but remember they told us that they want us to leave or depart from the laws of our ancestors. Yeah. And the laws of our God, that was in verse 1. Right? And they were sacrificing not to the God of Israel, but the God of Jupiter. Got that? That was depressing to our people. Got that?
So have to do that.
Mm-hmm. Verse 4, pay attention to this. This is one of the most important verses in this chapter. Verse 4, it says, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles. Did we learn earlier about them getting drunk? Yep. It says, who dilly-dallied with harlots. There go your orgies in the temple. Harlots were male prostitutes and female prostitutes.
And the pagans had something called Saturnalia. And it was a time of lawlessness because all the laws were suspended. And people, a bunch of singers actually wandered the streets naked singing. And then they had orgies, sexual orgies. And then they had orgies, sexual orgies. It was a mass thing.
The truth is, Christmas evolved from the Roman holiday Saturnalia, a winter festival where men gave gifts to each other. They also would get drunk, have sex with each other, and
they also would get drunk, have sex with each other, and have sex with each other, and have sex with each other.
So they were doing gay sex in the temple. Don't that sound like what we learned about Saturnalia?
Yes. Have sex with each other, and have sex with each other, and have sex with each other.
Then we learn about Bacchanalia. So let's continue. It says, and had to do with women in the circuit of the holy places. And beside that, they brought in things that were not lawful. When you go into history, they were bringing in swine's flesh in the temple of God. Leviticus, the 11th chapter, verse 7 and 8 tells us don't even touch swine's flesh. And they were bringing it into the holy temple. Disrespectful, absolutely. Let's continue. Verse 5, the altar also was filled with what kind of things? Profane things, not holy things, but what kind of things? Profane things, which the law what? Forbid. So they were bringing in unlawful things, which God told us don't deal with. How y'all think the Israelites felt during this time?
Waited.
Absolutely. It says, neither was it lawful, watch this, y'all, for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fast, which is feast, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So you couldn't call yourself an Israelite. You couldn't keep the Sabbath day, or you couldn't keep the feast days. How y'all think the children of Israel felt about that? Sad, grievous, right? Let's continue. And in the day of the king's birth, every what? So he celebrated his birthday every what? Month. They were brought by what kind of constraints? Bitter constraint to eat of the what? So what meat was they eating? Pork. Y'all see that? The same thing that the law forbid us to eat. They were making our ancestors eat that. Isn't that something? That was wicked, isn't it? Absolutely. It says, and watch this, y'all. And when the fast, mean the feast of what? Bacchus. That's Bacchanal. Didn't we learn about Bacchanalia? Didn't we learn about Saturnalia? Didn't we learn that they were what? Connected. We learned about the feast of Bacchanal. We learned that they were getting drunk, having sex, right? We learned that in the Boondocks cartoon, Saturnalia, connected to Bacchanalia, aka Bacchus or Bacchanal. When you look up Bacchanal, it's associated with wine, getting drunk. You understand that? So it says, the Jews were compelled to go in a procession to Bacchus carrying what? Ivy. That was associated with witchcraft. Also, the wreath on the door, ivy, green. All these things are attached to different rituals that our ancestors were forced to do. Today, they're willingly doing it today. Here's your gift. Here's your tree. Here's your lights on the tree. Oh, well, we know you don't celebrate Bacchanalia, Saturnalia, Yule, Christmas. We'll just give you your gifts a week before, 2 weeks before. Did the Lord give us the holiday spirit or the Holy Spirit? Holy means what? Set apart. So, let's continue. It says in verse 8, it says, moreover, there went out a decree. Who knows what a decree is? A law.
That has to be accepted by the public?
Yes, it's about to be a law.
Yeah.
To the neighboring city of the heathens. Now, what heathens was ruling at this time? The who? The Greeks. So that means like Troas, Olympia, Athens, etc. All of these territories of Greek, Corinth, all these Greek territories, the neighboring cities. This is before it was united as Greece.
Whole empire.
Whole empire. Y'all got that? So it says, by the suggestion of Ptolemy, it's really some people call Ptolemy is really Ptolemy. Was it for the Jews or was it against the Jews?
Yeah.
It says against the Jews that they should observe, watch this, the same fashions and to be partakers of what? Their sacrifices, their swine. Everything that the law forbid, they should be doing. They forced this. This became a law. You couldn't keep the Shabbat. You couldn't call yourself an Israelite. You had to convert to their ways. Raise your hand if you understand that. Today, your people willingly do it. We willingly do it. It says, verse 9, and whoso would not conform, meaning convert or change themselves to the manners or the customs of the Gentiles, those Gentiles were Greeks, what happened? They were put to death. It was a death sentence. It says, then might have a man have seen the present misery. Verse 10. It says, for there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children, whom they had openly led around about the city. The babes handed at their breasts, they were it said they threw them down headlong from the wall. So you women that got sons, if you got caught circumcising, your baby was put to death. Got that? Now, why do you think that is? Because circumcision was what? It was a law. It was a covenant. Y'all get that? You were essentially giving your child to God. But oh no, we're going to stop that. Because if we can stop the new generation from doing that, we can always have rulership and dominion over them. The God will never defend them. Y'all got that? We were being oppressed by the Greeks. Y'all got that? Verse 11. And others that had run together into what? Caves nearby. We're in verse 11, y'all. To keep the Sabbath day what? Secretly. Being discovered by Philip, were all burnt together because they had made a conscience to help themselves to honor the most sacred day. Today, the Christian church will say, oh, well, you know, you can worship God any day of the week. Right? So Philip II, anybody know who Philip II was? He's the father of Alexander the so-called Great.
Oh, he was a theater?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Uh-huh. We're going to learn today.
Oh.
So it says, verse 12, now I beseech you to those that read this scroll or book, that they be not discouraged for these destructions or calamities, but that they judge those punishments, not to be for destruction, but for the chastening of the discipline of the punishment of our nation. For it is a token of his great goodness when wicked doers are not suffered or allowed any long time before with punished. Verse 14. For not as those other nations whom the Lord patiently forbear to punish till they come to the fullness of their sins, so dealeth he with us. Y'all got that? Now look, let's jump down to verse 18. So, anybody heard the name Lazarus? Raise your hand. Lazarus in Hebrew is what we know as Eleazar. All right, Lazarus in the Greek, Eleazar is in the Hebrew. Just so you know that. It says Eleazar, one of the principal scribes. He was a scribe. Y'all got that? Wrote it down. It says, an aged man. What do you think that means? He was old. Yep. And of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. So they want to make him eat pork. They want to force it. Now think about it. If you got a scribe to do that, those that are writing our records and the scrolls down, surely you can get a whole nation to follow behind that. Surely he'll write this down, and surely people behind him will follow that. Y'all got that? It says, verse 19, what did he do? He says, but he chose rather to what? To die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination. What did he do? He spit it forth. He spit out his mouth and came of his own accord to the torment. So in other words, he said, look, you just gonna have to kill me because I'm not gonna eat that. So remember, we learned earlier that the pig, the pork, and the swine, of course, was the most preferred animal that they ate during Yule. Bacchanal, Saturnalia, whatever name we want to call it. And they willingly eat this ham today. But your forefather, Eleazar, spit it out his mouth and he chose to die than to eat that. How many people around the world, we probably couldn't even count how many people eating swine today in the name of Jesus. Yeah. So it says, as it behold them to come, there are resolute to stand out over such things that are not lawful for the love of life to be tasted. Verse 21. But they had the charge of that wicked feast. What kind of feast does the Bible call it? Oh, so remember we learned that Bacchanal, aka the Feast of Bacchus, Bacchanalia was attached to Saturnalia, was attached to Yule and Christmas. And the Bible called that a what kind of feast? Wicked. So what, they Christianized it today? They've been doing this stuff, attaching to different deities. It's the same spilled over spoiled milk, just attached to a different society, different custom, different deity. So it says, verse 21 again, but they that had the charge of that wicked feast for the old acquaintance that they had with the man, taking him aside, besought him. So look what they do, y'all. They took him to the side. He spit out his mouth. Hey, man, let's put him to the side real quick. It says, to bring flesh of his own provision. Now look, today you got people say, oh, well, it's a sin to eat meat. You can't eat meat, right? But look at what they did with this scribe. Remember, he spit pork out. Hold it down, y'all. He spit pork out. Now, what did they do? They took him to the side and they made provisions to bring flesh of his own provision. But what kind of flesh? Such as was lawful for him to use. And make it as if he did eat it of swine, take it from the sacrifice commanded by the king. So in other words, we're going to go take this beef, we're going to give it to you, and we're going to act like it's pork. You going to do that, Eleazar? Let's see what Eleazar do. Now, beef is lawful to eat. Let's see what happens. That in doing so, he might be saved from death. And for the old friendship with them find favor. But he began to consider discreetly, and as became of his age, so he sat and thought about it, right? And the excellency of his ancient years and the honor of his gray head whereupon was come, and the most honest education from a child, and rather the holy law made and given by God. Therefore he answered accordingly, and willed them straightways to send him to the grave. Like, right. Look, you might well just kill me because I ain't finna do it. Now remember, it was lawful for him to eat this. But what you think they would have done had the elder done that?
The crowd or the other Israelites would have been like, oh, the oldest doing that?
Would have followed. So even during the time of death, him being a leader was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Because what about the people that look up to me? If I go and do it, and if I cower down and show signs of weakness, what's going to happen to the people that's following behind me? And I'm going to be held accountable for them. So he understood that, nah, death you bring, death it shall be. So it says, verse 24, for it becoming not our age, said he, in any wise to dissemble whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar being 80 years old and 10. How old is that, y'all? 90. Y'all agree? All right. We're now gone to a strange religion, meaning a strange worship. Sounds like the people that's doing Christmas today doing the same thing. It says, for so they, through mine hypocrisy and desire to what? To live a little time. So in other words, live a little longer. What it says right here, in a moment longer, should be deceived by me. And I get a what? A stain in my old age and make it abominable. So in other words, him eating his pork would have gotten him to live a little longer. But what that would have done to his reputation, though, it put a stain on his reputation.
Before God.
Before God, too. I got that? All right. Verse 25. And verse 26. For the present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men. Yet should I not escape the hand of the Almighty, neither alive nor dead. So whether he dead or alive, I can't escape what the Lord got for me. Wherefore now manfully changing this life, I will show myself such as one of my age requireth, and leave a notable example, not a stain on his name, but a notable example to such as be young to die willingly, and bravely or courageously for the honorable and the holy laws. And when he had said these words, immediately he went to the torment. So think about that. If we as the adults ate that swine, right? What do you think would have happened to the youngsters? They'd have did it too. Well, mommy did it. Daddy did it. I've seen Judah teach. He did it. Maybe it might not be so bad. Y'all get what I'm saying? That makes sense, kids? Like if your parents were saying, baby, just eat it so we can live, you would have ate it, right? If your parents told you to, right? And we get it. Because mommy, daddy said that. Y'all got that? All right. It says, verse 29. They that led him changing the good, will they bear him a little before into hatred because of the foresaid speeches proceeded as they thought from a desperate mind. But when he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned and said, is manifest unto the Most High that have the holy knowledge, and whereas I might have been delivered from death, I now endure sore pains in my body by being beaten, but in soul am well content to suffer for these things, because I fear him. And thus this man died, leaving his death. Somebody say leaving his death. For an example. For an example of a notable courage and a memorial of virtue, not only to young men, but unto all his nation. Let's go to chapter 7. Going in the next chapter.
Brothers.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Verse 1.
Yeah. So we're going into this. Matter of fact, if possible, I want you to move down here real quick.
Okay.
Come down here and bring the laptop down here. While you doing, I'm gonna make some room for you,
Right.
and you can still read from the laptop while you're doing the screen. So, 2 Maccabees chapter 7. Oh, you closed it. I don't know why you did that. It's all good. 2 Maccabees chapter 7. You said it right there. Yeah. I'm gonna scoot this over. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I thought.
Yeah. 2 Maccabees, the 7th chapter. What number's on the screen, y'all?
6:1.
It's all good. Is it back on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. All right. So, 2 Maccabees chapter 7, starting verse 1. It's on you, Trill. Yeah. Okay, I'll start. Yeah, it says, and it came to pass also that 7 brothers with their mother were taken. So it says they were what, y'all?
7 brothers.
They were what?
Taken.
Taken. It says, and compelled by the king against the law to do what? Taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourge and whips. So they were being beat. Remember, we learned earlier in Judah chapter 5, verse 17 through 21, they knew and understood that if they can keep us from keeping the laws of our God wouldn't defend us. But if they are sinning against their God, then in other words, we can beat them. You couldn't call yourself an Israelite. You couldn't keep the Sabbath day. You had to partake in their fashions. You had to convert to a Greek. So you couldn't call yourself a Jew back then. You had to call yourself a Greek then. So they took on Greek customs, Greek ideology, Greek gods, oppressed us, forced us to eat things that were not lawful, forced us to partake in sacrifices that was not lawful. Because think about it, if they kept us doing that, then God wouldn't do what? Wouldn't defend us. Today, we willingly do it. You don't have to beat it into us no more. Our people love it today. They love doing Bacchanal. They love doing Bacchanalia. They love doing Saturnalia. They love doing Christmas. They love doing these pagan holidays that are attached to other deities, and they Christianize it and put the damn kids in it. And now it is so wonderful. We're now dealing with the birth of Jesus. Amen. Meanwhile, their ancestors would turn over in their graves if they saw that. They chose rather to die than to partake in these heathen customs and practices. So, verse 2. Go ahead, verse 2, and speak up so they can hear.
But one of them that spake first said thus, what wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die.
We what?
We are ready to die rather than to transgress the laws of our father.
Come on.
Then the king, being enraged, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot, which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first.
Woo! Go ahead.
And to cut off the utmost parts of his body, the rest of his brethren and his mother looking on.
Come on.
Now, when he was thus maimed in all his members, he commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire and to be fried in the pan. And as the vapor of the pan was for a good space dispersed, they exhorted one another with the mother to die manfully, saying this, the Lord God looketh upon us, and in truth have comfort in us, as Moses in his song, which witnessed to their faces, declared, saying, and he shall be comforted in his servants. So when the first was dead, the first brother, after this number, they brought the second to make him a mocking stock.
So you see that? The first brother chose to die. The mother is encouraging her sons. Got that? Don't be no chump. Y'all got that? Continue. Give them the verse 2. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, verse 7.
And when they had pulled off the skin of his head.
They did what?
Pulled off the skin of his head with the hair.
Right.
They asked him, will you eat before you be punished throughout every member of your body?
So you see that? Most people who follow the Lord today will give in and eat. Think about that. And what do you think they'll do to the whole nation?
Destroy us.
It'll destroy us. Because somebody else would, dang, well, you know, my partner did it. My wife did it. My mama did it. My cousin did it. Just eat the pork. Let's continue.
Verse 8.
Yeah.
Right. But he answered.
Oh, look, you know they had to get this out of the regular King James version of the Bible.
Had to.
Because if we knew and understood that our ancestors chose to die and to eat some pork, ain't no way in hell you being a preacher is going to teach your congregation that it's okay to eat pork when your ancestors chose to do it and die. In Islam, they teach that it's unlawful except if it's life or death.
What?
Yeah, except if it's life or death.
Because that's crazy.
Yeah. So it's like, why would you do that when here, those that worship the God of the Bible, who y'all call Allah, oh my bad, Allah.
Allah.
Yeah. What you call Allah. It's like, yo, he wouldn't have had his people do that. Let's continue. And if you listen, no, we're not Muslims either.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
Well, he answered in his own language and said,
He
no.
answered what?
In his own language and said, no.
Lo in Hebrew. Go ahead.
Wherefore, he also received the next torment in order as the former did.
What verse you in?
8.
Okay, cool, yeah.
And when he was at the last gasp, he said, thou like a fury takest us out of this present life, but the King of the world shall raise us up, who have died for his laws unto everlasting life.
Come on.
After him was the third made a mocking.
So now we're at the third brother. She has 7 sons. We're the third son. Go ahead.
And when he was required, he put out his tongue, and that right soon, holding forth his hands manfully.
Come on.
And said courageously, these I had from heaven, and for his laws I despise them, and from him I hope to receive them again.
Come on.
And so much that the king and they that were with him marveled at the young man's courage.
They were shocked that he was so brave. Go ahead.
For that he nothing regarded the pain.
So he didn't even care. Like the pain didn't even bother him. Let's continue.
Now, when this man was dead also,
right,
they tormented and mangled the fourth in like manner.
So now we on the fourth, bro. Did him the same way. Come on.
So when he was ready to die.
When he was what?
When he was ready to die.
Come on.
He said this. It is good being put to death by men.
Pay attention to this, y'all. Remember, this is what we would classify today as Old Testament, right? What did he say? It is what? Good. It is good.
Being put to death by men.
Right.
To look for hope from God.
To be what?
To be raised up again.
What we call that today?
Resurrection.
The resurrection. So the resurrection was talked about here. So here it is. The Christian church believe in the resurrection. Well, it's right here. And if you Christians are listening, we learn about this and Christ and what we call today the Apocrypha. But let's continue though. To be raised up again by who? By him.
By him. As for thee, as for you, you shall have no resurrection to life.
So you see that? They believed in a resurrection.
Wow. Afterward, they brought the fifth also and mangled him. Then looked he unto the king and said, Thou hast power over men. You are corruptible. You doest what you will. Yet think not that our nation is forsaken of God.
Come on.
But abide a while, and behold his great power, how he will torment you and your seed.
Now remember this what the fifth son is saying. Yeah. Now we moving on. Go ahead. Verse 18.
After him also they brought the sixth, who being ready to die.
Who being what?
Who being ready to die.
Go ahead.
Said, be not deceived without cause. For we suffer these things for ourselves, having sinned against our God.
Come on.
Therefore, marvelous things are done unto us.
So they knew about the curses. They knew that the Lord was punishing us because of our disobedience. Y'all got that? Go ahead.
But think not you that taketh in hand to strive against God, that you shall escape unpunished?
Yeah, you doing this to us, and we know we sin against our God, but do you think you finna get away with this?
No.
Go ahead.
But the mother was marvelous.
The mother was what?
Marvelous.
Right?
Above all.
Go ahead.
And worthy of honorable memory. For when she saw her 7 sons.
How many?
Slain, 7 sons slain.
Right?
Within the space of 1 day.
Now think about something, y'all. A mother can lose one of her childs in 1 day due to it being killed. And she will be so feeble in need. Look at how brave this woman was. You think that the men were just brave too? You women got to be stand up too, because y'all birthed our nations. So here it is. This woman was brave in the face of death. Saw all of her sons be put to death. Y'all got that? Read that verse again.
Where was I?
Verse 20.
But the mother was marvelous above all.
Go ahead.
And worthy.
And what else?
Honorable memory.
Of what what kind of memory? Honorable memory. Go ahead.
For when she saw her 7 sons slain within the space of 1 day.
Go ahead.
She bare it with a good courage.
No, with good discouragement.
With a good courage.
Go ahead.
Because of the hope.
The what?
The hope.
Right.
That she had in the Lord.
You see that? That's a woman. That's a God-fearing woman right there.
Hallelujah.
A God-fearing woman. You women better pray that you can live up to your foremothers. Starting with you young little ones. Y'all see how brave she was? Let's continue.
Yea, she exhorted every one of them in her own language.
Hebrew. Go ahead.
Filled with courageous spirit.
Go ahead.
And stirring up her womanish thoughts.
Her what thoughts?
Womanish thoughts.
Go ahead.
With a manly stomach.
Wow.
She said unto them.
So she spoke from her gut with her woman voice. Right? She said it with authority like a woman would. So she wasn't speaking like no chump. Go ahead.
I cannot tell how you came into my womb.
Right.
For I neither gave you breath nor life. Neither was it I that formed the members of every one of you.
Now, don't that go contrary to what we hear today? We hear our mothers, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out of it. Yeah. No, but look at how your foremother thought then. Yeah. She said that she didn't. Exactly. So go ahead. What did it say?
You take no credit for it.
Go ahead.
But doubtless the creator of the world,
right,
who formed the generation of man,
go ahead,
and found out the beginning of all things, will also of his own mercy
do what?
Give you breath and life again.
A what?
Breath and life again.
Again. So they knew and understood that one day we will live again. Go ahead.
As ye now regard not your own selves for his law's sake.
Come on.
Now Antiochus, thinking himself despised and suspecting it to be a reproachful speech.
Well, go ahead.
While the youngest was yet alive, and did not only exhort him by words, but also assured him with oaths that he would make him both a rich and a happy man.
Trying to get him to sell out. Man, look, if you don't do this, look, I'll make you rich. I promise you I got you. Go ahead.
Right. If he would turn from the laws of his father.
But you got to go against your God. You have to sell your soul. Think about that. Reminds me of Mark 8:36 about selling your soul. What is it? Yeah.
What does it profit a man to gain the world?
Yeah, lose his soul. Yeah. And what would a man give in exchange for his soul? Come on.
So his father's the laws of his fathers, and that also he would take him for his friend.
Mm-hmm. If you do that, man, you'll be a friend to me. You'll be my partner. Go ahead.
And trust him with affairs.
Go ahead.
But when the young man would in no case hearken unto him,
so he wouldn't listen to him. Go ahead.
The king called his mother and exhorted her that she would counsel the young man to save his life.
So this dummy thought that he was going to talk the mother into saving her last son, who was promised to be rich, promised to be his friend, promised to be trusted with his affairs. You're going to live the longest. I mean, you're going to live long. You're going to be rich and you're going to be a happy man. But you got to turn from your laws. Matter of fact, hey, mother, go ahead and talk him into doing this. That's your youngest boy. You going to let your youngest son die? Remember, they knew that they can have power over us if we turn from our God. Got that? Let's continue. Let's see how this happened. Verse 26.
And when he had exhorted her with many words,
go ahead.
She promised him that she would counsel her son.
Oh, so she said, look, I promise you. Look, I promise you. I'm going to go talk to my son. I'm going to go talk to him. I'm going to go talk to my youngest son. She going to give him counsel. Just like that man told her to do. So she promised that she would give him counsel. Let's see how it turned out. Go ahead.
But she, bowing herself toward him.
Because remember, he was young. So she bowed down toward her son. Go ahead.
Laughing the cruel tyrant to scorn.
So she gave a big old tyrant laugh to scorn, in other words.
Spake in her country language on this matter.
Go ahead.
Oh, my son.
Right?
Have pity upon me that bare you 9 months in my womb.
Come on.
And gave you such 3 years and nourished you 3 years and brought you up unto this age and endured the troubles of education.
Come on.
I beg you, I beseech you, my son, look upon the heaven and the earth and all that is therein, and consider that God made them of things that were not. And so was mankind made likewise.
Come on.
Nothing. Fear not this tormentor.
Do what?
Fear not this tormentor.
So she giving him counsel, this little boy. Go ahead.
But being worthy of your brethren, take your death.
Do what?
Take your death.
That what?
That I may receive you again in mercy with your brethren.
Because she believed in a resurrection. Take your death so I can see you again. Y'all got that? Come on.
While she was yet speaking these words, the young man said, whom wait ye for?
Who you waiting for? Go ahead.
I will not obey the king's commandment.
Right.
But I will obey the commandment of the law that was given unto
It's kind of like, it's kind of like, hey, like, what you waiting for? Like, what's up? Let's get this over with. Like, ain't nothing you can do. This is done. This is over with. I'm dying. Let's go. Y'all see that? That's why it's important for the next generation. If you got a whole generation that's ready to die for the laws of God, that's a generation of people you just can't beat, because they got the God that literally killed everybody on earth and left 8 souls.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Let's continue.
30.
Yep.
While she was yet
31.
All right. And you and thou that hast been the author of all mischief against the Hebrews shall not escape the hands of God.
Come on.
For we suffer because of our sins.
Because of our what?
Our sins.
We know about that curses of Deuteronomy 28:15 through 68. If y'all don't, y'all better get to it. Come on.
Though the living Lord be angry with us a little while.
He might be angry with us for a little bit. Go ahead.
For our chastening and correction. Yet shall he be at one again with his servant.
Remind me of Deuteronomy 8 and 5. You know what I'm saying? You should also consider in your heart that as a man punishes his son or chastens his son, So Lord your God chasteneth you.
Zechariah 1:15.
Yeah, Zechariah 1:15. We got Hebrews 12, Proverbs 3 that talks about don't be weary of his correction, don't be fainting, getting all feeble, needing, weak. You being rebuked, getting your behind whooped. Let's continue.
But you, O godless man, and of all other most wicked, be not lifted up without a cause, nor puffed up with uncertain hopes, lifting up your hand against the servants of God.
Come on.
For you have not yet escaped the judgment of Almighty God, who seeth all things.
Come on.
For our brethren, who now have suffered a short pain, are dead under God's covenant of everlasting life.
Of what kind of life?
Dead under God's covenant of everlasting life.
Don't that sound like what we call the New Testament today?
They were martyrs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you, through the judgment of God, shall receive just punishment for your pride.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
But I, as my brethren, offer up my body and life for the laws of our fathers.
Come on.
Beseeching God that he would speedily be merciful unto our nation, and that you, by torments and plagues, mayest confess that he alone is God.
Come on.
And that in me and my brethren, the wrath of the Almighty, which is justly brought upon our nation, may cease. Then the king, being in a rage, handed him worse than all the rest, and took it grievously that he was mocked. So this man,
so he ain't like the fact that he was mocked, right? Go ahead.
So this man died undefiled and put his whole trust in the Lord. Last of all, after the sons, the mother died. Lest this be enough now. Oh, let this be enough now to have spoken concerning the idolatrous feast.
Got what kind of feast?
Idolatrous feast.
So you have feasts that are considered idolatry, right? Yeah. Idolatrous feast. It's another deity, another god attached to it. There go your Bacchanal we learn about, Bacchanalia, Saturnalia, Yule, Christmas, right? So, read that verse 42 one more time.
Let this be enough now to have spoken concerning the idolatrous feast and the extreme tortures.
So, let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 1. 1 Maccabees. Chapter 1. This is going to, so, because you know we're going to be doing this throughout the 8 days. This is going to be the last chapter that we're going to look at for day 1. All right. So, 1 Maccabees, and we're going to go to the first chapter. Now, this is important because we basically going to do a whole walk down. If anybody that's listening, if y'all have been following my channel for a while, I did a video. Let's see, 3 months ago, and it was called Daniel 8, the Ram and the He-Goat. I definitely would encourage you to watch that video. You watch that video, you will understand a lot of what we're about to go over in 1 Maccabees. All right. So that being said, Daniel chapter 8, verse 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to do basically a walk down. We're able to find out the exact year when the Maccabean revolt happened. The Bible gives us that year. All right. Where do I go? We're going to start at 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. So the Bible gives us that precise year. But the more you know the Bible and the more you know history, the better you are at understanding when these things took place. So, all right. So verse 1, what did it say?
It happened after that Alexander, son of Philip.
Did we read about Philip in 2 Maccabees earlier? Go ahead.
The Macedonian.
Macedonia,
Oh, Macedonia.
It's all good.
Who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece.
So, in short, he was considered to be the first king over Greece, and this happened after he took down Darius, aka Darius, the king of the Persians and Medes. He took over both of them empires. This man, Alexander the Macedonian, who was known later as Alexander the Great. Raise your hand if you heard of Alexander the Great. Raise your hand if you heard of the Battle of Gaugamela. Raise your hand if you know the year when it took place. I was about to say, you know? Okay, I was okay. The Battle of Gaugamela, that's the video that I have, Daniel 8. For anybody that's watching, this video here. 8. You learn about, look, I got it right here. Daniel 8 chapter. That video here, you learn about that. In short, the Battle of Gaugamela took place around 331 BC. All right. So there was a battle known as the Battle of Issus, dealing with Turkey, and then he had another battle known as the Battle of Gaugamela. That's what this is talking about here. So if you watch that Daniel 8 video that I did, it'll help you understand the first Maccabees, the first chapter even more. But since I've done a video on it, I'm not going to go into all of that spill. All right, so go ahead. Verse 2, what happened?
And made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth.
So you see Alexander the Great wasn't playing. Come on.
And went through to the ends of the earth and took spoil of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him.
Come on.
Whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up.
He had pride. Go ahead.
And he gathered a mighty strong host.
A mighty strong army. Go ahead.
And ruled over countries.
What else?
And nations. And kings. Who became tributaries unto him.
He made them pay taxes. Go ahead.
And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die.
So you learn that in his prime, around age 32, he became sick and he knew he was finna die. All right, go ahead.
Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom.
He did what?
He parted his kingdom.
Remember, he ruled over countries, nations, and kings, right? According to verse 4. And he parted that kingdom. Go ahead.
Among them, while he was yet alive.
Come on.
So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died.
He died at age 32. He ruled 12 years. In my video, I talk about that and going in history, showing that he did rule 12 years, showing this the same Alexander the Great that the Bible speaks of. Got that? So you learn about Alexander the Great in the Bible. I mean, in history, he's talked about in the Bible. And I proved that that was actually him. Let's continue. 8, verse 8.
His death, and his servants bear rule, everyone in his place.
All right, so here it is. His servants that grew up with him, they began to start ruling in his place. Got that? Let's continue.
After his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
Come on.
So did their sons.
So did who?
Their sons. Many years.
Come on.
Evils were multiplied in the earth.
What was multiplied in the earth, y'all?
Evils.
Evils were multiplied in the earth. Go ahead.
And there came out of them a wicked root. Surnamed
Epiphanes. So this person, Antiochus Epiphanes, in history existed. And the Bible's recording about him. So here, let me show you. Antiochus Epiphanes. Here. What does it say about him? Remember, we can find out the year when the Maccabean revolt took place and we rededicated our temple. What does it say about it?
Antiochus, is that 5?
No, the 4th.
4th. Whatever.
I got it. Yeah, born 215 BCE, which is before Common Era. He died in 164. Tabay, Iran, was the Seleucid king of the Hellenistic. Now, Hellenistic, when you learn about these things, Helen was one of the names of Greece. Hellenistic is when they forced the Greek customs on our people. This is when our forefathers were being Hellenized. We adopted Greek practices, Greek customs, and Greek culture, the Greek language, the Greek way of life. We couldn't call ourselves Israelites. We had to call ourselves Greeks, Grecians, and we became Greeks in the mind. We became Gentiles in the mind. All right? We took on their customs, their practice, their ways. All right. So he was ruling in the Hellenistic, what kingdom? Syrian kingdom, who reigned or ruled from what year, y'all? 175 BC to 164. As a ruler, he was best known for his encouragement of what? Greek culture and institutions. His attempts to suppress what? Judaism, i.e. our customs. Brought on wars of the who? Of the Maccabees. Now, that took place 175 to 164. So we're going to walk it down to see, does this correspond with the Bible? Got that? Your Bible's historical. This just ain't no made-up book. You understand that? So the Bible records Antiochus. We're reading about him in history in the Britannica. Y'all got that? Now, that being said, go to the next tab up there. Not that one, yeah. Antiochus Epiphanes. So, all that right here?
This one right here?
Yeah, right there. Look at what it says. It says Antiochus IV Epiphanes was a what?
King, Greek.
A Greek Hellenistic king who ruled the Seleucid Empire from what year, y'all? 175 BC into his death in 164. Y'all see that? He was the son of King Antiochus III the Great. Originally named Martyrdom, he surnamed the name Antiochus after the death of his elder brother Antiochus, or when he ascended the throne. So now we got that, right? So now, what year did he first start ruling?
75.
175. That's very important. That being said, let's go back to First Maccabees chapter 1. Anybody remember the man's name? Antiochus. All right. Yep. Most people don't know that this occurred around 167 or 160 BC, give or take. All right. Most say around 164 to 167. All right. Afterwards, they still had a beef, of course. And what we're going to do is we're going to run down when did this take place. All right. So, verse 10, what did it say?
There came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome.
Which is also historical. Go ahead.
And he reigned in the
He reigned when?
In the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
So the Bible calls it the 137th year. In history, we just saw it was 175. Got that? So here it is. We're going to learn and we're going to see the precise date when it happened. Let's continue.
In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us.
Go ahead.
For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
So you have some coon bootlicking Israelites back then that want to be coons and be just like the heathens.
I knew under the sun.
Let's go and do what they do. Let's continue.
So this device pleased them well.
So this thought or this plan, it was pleasing to them. Go ahead.
Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen.
So they gave them license or permission to do after the ordinance of who?
Heathen.
Come on.
Whereupon they built a place of exercise.
What we call it today, y'all?
Gymnasium.
Anybody know what gymnasium mean? It's in my video.
It's day stuff. That's all.
Naked.
It means naked?
Means naked.
Damn,
you watch the video, you will see that, yeah. So here it is. They were being naked. All right, let's continue.
Okay.
It's everything gay, yeah. Let's continue. Verse 15.
And made themselves uncircumcised.
They made themselves what?
Uncircumcised.
What else they do?
And forsook the holy covenant.
And what else did they do?
Joined themselves to the heathen.
Which were the Greeks, and whatever what?
And were sold to do mischief.
Come on.
Sold. Okay. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of two realms. That's history too, right? Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy.
Come on.
And made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of them and fled, and many were wounded to death.
Come on.
Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof.
Come on.
And
now this is that verse 20 is an important verse. What does it say?
After that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem.
That's 169 BC.
With a great multitude.
Come on.
And entered proudly into the sanctuary.
There go our sanctuary. After he did this, he entered proudly into our sanctuary. And what did he do?
And took away the golden altar.
And what else?
And the candlestick of light.
So he took away the golden altar and he took away our menorah. Y'all got that? Go ahead.
All the vessels thereof.
Mm-hmm.
And the table of the showbread.
Remember, that's the priest job. They had the showbread. What else?
And the pouring vessel.
Mm-hmm.
And the vial.
The veil.
The veil.
Mm-hmm.
And the censers of gold. And the veil. And the crown. And the golden ornaments that were before the temple. All which he pulled off.
All which he what?
Pulled off.
Wow. Go ahead.
He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he took the hidden treasures which he found.
Come on.
And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly.
Go ahead.
Therefore, there was a great mourning in Israel in every place where they were.
So you see that it was a great mourning in Israel, right? Go ahead.
So that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed.
All this because of what they did, going into our sanctuary, forcing us to do things that of course, was against the law. You had Israelites that were literally going willingly after the ways of the heathen, just like today, they're willingly going after the ways of the heathen today, doing their Saturnalia, doing their Christmas, doing their Bacchanalia, doing their festivals of Yule, if you will. They've just been Christianized and called today Christmas. And you want to put Christ in that. Get out of here. Let's continue.
Therefore, there was
Verse 27.
Every bridegroom took up lamentation.
So that was sad. Go ahead.
And she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness.
Meaning that she couldn't consummate the marriage. That was depressing. Go ahead.
The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof. And all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion.
Come on.
And after 2 years fully expired,
go ahead.
The king sent his chief collector of tributes unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude.
Now I'm about to force our people to pay taxes. Go ahead.
And spake peaceable words unto them.
So he acted like he was coming in peace. But what?
But all was deceit.
Come on.
For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel.
We have a history of quickly trusting other nations that speak good words to us, and soon we let our guards down, we end up being the ones destroyed. I don't even have to keep talking about that. I think we all know and understand that history shows that, right? They'll speak sweet and nice to you and get you to let your guard down and then destroy you. I think we understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We won't have to make it about that, but let's continue. Verse 31.
When he had taken the spoils of the city.
The spoils of the city, for you children who may not know, spoils is like when you conquer a nation and you take all of the good stuff, the stuff that belongs to them. That's called the spoils. They took that. Go ahead.
He set it on fire and pulled down the houses.
Go ahead.
And wall thereof on every side.
So people didn't have places to live. Go ahead.
But the women and children took their captives.
They went into slavery. Go ahead.
That's the captive.
And they took over our animals. Go ahead.
Then builded they the city of David,
right,
with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them.
So they made a strong wall, a big old tower, and a stronghold so that couldn't nobody get in. Go ahead.
And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein.
So guess what, guys? Your holy city, they tore the sanctuary down, tore the altars down, the showbread, they got rid of it. They put literally, they pulled our houses down, made us pay taxes. We trusted them, they destroyed us. Our women and children went into slavery. Y'all see the stuff that was happening back then?
Yeah.
Let's continue. Verse 35.
They stored it also with armor and victuals. And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem,
What they do?
they laid them up there.
Uh-huh.
And so they became a sore snare.
Come on.
That's crazy. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary and an evil adversary to Israel.
Come on. You know what an adversary is, right?
Enemy.
Enemy. Go ahead.
Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it.
So not only they shed blood on all sides of our sanctuary, they also defiled it. Made it abomination. Let's continue.
And so much that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them.
They what?
They fled.
So people that was living there did what?
Fled.
Fled. Go ahead.
Whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers.
So who was living in our city?
Strangers.
Strangers, which is foreigners, right? Go ahead.
And became strange to those that were born in her.
Come on.
And her own children left her.
So you see that? The Israelites left. Other nations took over our land. Nothing new. Go ahead.
Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness.
What else?
Her feast.
Her what?
Her feast.
Like Passover, Pentecost, right? Blowing of trumpets. They were what?
Turned into mourning.
So these times of gladness and joy, it was turned into what?
Tears.
Mourning. Sadness. What else?
Her sadness into reproach.
What else?
Her honor into contempt.
What else?
As had been her glory,
Go ahead.
so was her dishonor increased.
Wow. Go ahead.
And her excellency was turned into mourning.
Now let's see what else King Antiochus did.
Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom
That what?
that all should be one people.
That was your new world order. What else?
And everyone should leave his law.
Everyone should do what?
Leave his law.
Go ahead.
So all the heathen agreed.
All the nations agreed.
According to the commandment of the king.
Go ahead.
Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
Read that again.
Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
And what they do?
And sacrificed unto idols.
So y'all see that? You have people of our ancestors. Our ancestors also agreed. Yeah, you know what? We're going to leave the laws of God and we're going to consent to their worship, their practice, and we're going to sacrifice pig meat to idols. And said they're going to profane the Shabbat. Believe it or not, we see Israelites doing this today. That's a whole nother topic. There are Israelites that literally record themselves at feast days eating pork and bragging about it.
No.
Bro, look, I'm not lying, bro. Yeah. I'm telling you. Willingly do it. Praying and everything. Yeah. Yeah. Let's continue, though. What else it say? Verse 44.
For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah
that what?
Should follow the strange laws of the land.
Come on.
And forbid burnt offering and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath.
Come on.
Festival days.
Come on.
And pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
So here it is. They followed the strange laws of the land, burnt offerings, sacrifice, and drink offerings in our holy temple, profane the Sabbaths and our festival days, and they polluted our sanctuary and our people who was deemed to be holy. Come on. What else they do?
Set up altars and groves.
Right.
And chapels of idols.
And what?
And sacrifice swine's flesh.
And what else?
And unclean beasts.
This is historical, y'all. From Babylon to Timbuktu, page 83 talks about this, and 84. Go ahead.
That they should also leave their children uncircumcised.
Then we read earlier about the children of the mothers who circumcised their children that were killed and make their souls what?
Abominable.
With what?
All manner of uncleanness and profanation.
Profanation. So here it is. They made your ancestors not only remember you couldn't call yourself a Jew, you had to literally sacrifice swine's flesh. They took your menorah out the temple, destroyed the temple. Women and children went into captivity. We had to literally follow the strange laws of the land. Couldn't sacrifice kids. Couldn't do that. Right? Our feast days were turned into mourning. We were not living in our land. All this was a time of depression. And here it is. It said that that they lead their children uncircumcised, made themselves abominable before God, in other words. But look at what the goal was. Why did they want us to do it? Look in verse 49. It says what?
To the end.
That what?
They might forget the law.
They might what?
Forget the law.
And do what?
And change all the ordinance.
Think about that. If we, being the adults, we'll stop practicing the law, that means we won't be teaching our children the laws of God. And because you're not teaching your children the laws of God, now you got a whole generation of ignorance. So here it is, because you don't connect yourself to being an Israelite, because you don't keep the holy days, and we thinking this is a Jewish day instead of the days of our ancestors, because our people are eating pork, because they have turned away willingly from our God and doing things like Christmas, we have forgotten the law of our God. It's like Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I will also reject you, and you shall be no priest to me. Seeing that you have forgotten the law of your God, I will also forget your children. So here it is. We're not teaching our children the laws of God, which means they'll grow up, and the knowledge that you may have had will die with you. And that means that the other nations will always have rulership and dominion over us. The quicker we can come back to the covenant and commandments, the quicker we can have rulership again.
Rulership.
Let's continue.
Where am I at? 50?
Yep, verse 50.
And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king,
which is follow the ways of the Greeks. Go ahead.
Said he should die.
It's a death sentence. Remember, we read that in 2 Maccabees, the 6th chapter. Come on.
In the self-same manner wrote he to his whole kingdom.
Whole kingdom.
And appointed overseers over all the people.
So taskmaster, make sure y'all wasn't keeping that law. Make sure y'all wasn't doing what y'all ain't doing what y'all supposed to be doing. Taskmasters. Go ahead.
Commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice, city by city.
That means every city had to sacrifice to their gods. We're going to make sure you're denouncing your God. Go ahead.
Then many of the people were gathered unto them.
Right.
To wit, everyone that forsook the law.
Everyone that what?
That forsook the law.
Go ahead.
And so they committed evils in the land.
Look at that, doing it in a holy land. In God's house. Let's continue.
And drove the Israelites into secret places.
So obviously you have some Israelites like, nope, not doing that. We've been going to hiding.
Yeah.
So drove them into secret places. Go ahead.
Even wheresoever they could flee.
Where they can what?
Where they could flee.
Right.
For succor.
For succor. Safety.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now the 15th day.
Now look, this is one of the most important verses. It said the what?
15th day of the month
Keslev.
In the 100.
Hold on, wait. Why is that familiar, y'all?
Because we just said it, right?
What you mean? Huh? This month. His confidence. And we got some lessons over here. So read that verse again.
Okay. Now the 15th day of the month Passover. In the 145th year.
We've been counting down now. We at year 145. That corresponds to 167 BC. Go ahead.
They set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar.
Right.
And builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side.
Come on.
And burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets.
What else?
And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law,
right,
which they found,
which they what?
They burnt them with fire. Which they found,
yeah,
they burnt them with fire.
Come on.
And whosoever was found with the book of the testament.
So you had the book of the testament, book of the covenant, the Bible. If you got caught with it, what happens?
Or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death.
So you see that? They burned Bibles that they found. And if you got caught with it, it was what, y'all?
Yeah.
It was a death sentence. So you couldn't even have that. Now think about it. If you're not following the laws of God and you are afraid to do it, you're not going to teach the kids, and the kids can't stumble across and start reading either. They wanted total domination over us. And they went through great lengths to make sure of it. Yeah. Now they don't have to do it because now they give you Christianity today. And we willingly follow it today.
Hold on.
The word Christian in the Bible 3 times. Acts 11:26, Acts 26:28, 1 Peter 4:16. That wasn't talking about the Christian religion. That religion didn't even exist. But you can't tell most people in the Christian church that today, though. And the Christianity church have picked up pagan customs like Christmas, Thanksgiving, Ishtar. Oh, it's my bad. Easter. Feast of the Dead. Oh, my bad. Halloween. Let's continue.
58, right?
Yep.
Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month.
Every what?
Every month.
Every month they made sure you did them sacrifices. Go ahead.
To as many as were found in the city.
And burned them Bibles down. Go ahead.
Now the 5 and 20th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God.
Now, one thing I'm going to give away now, it said the 25th day of the month of Kislev. What happened they did? They did what?
Christmas.
Hold away.
Oh.
Let's go ahead.
They did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God.
So it's not Christmas.
Not Christmas.
But the 25th day of the 9th month, it ain't always falling on what we call Christmas.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So in short, just this year just so happened it fell today on pagan Christmas. So here it is. Hold on. So here it is. That day is very important. All right. So you may use a highlighter if you will. But this happened. They sacrificed upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. Y'all got that? And it's happened on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is where we in today, which is the feast of what?
Dedication.
All right. So one thing I give you now, when we rededicated our temple back, it fell on the anniversary of when we did this, when our forefathers did that. Got that? All right, let's continue. Verse 60.
At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women.
Certain who?
Women.
Go ahead.
That had caused their children to be circumcised.
Remember them babies got thrown down off the wall? Mamas died too? Go ahead.
They hanged the infants about their necks.
Even hang infants around their necks. Go ahead.
Rifled their houses. And slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit, many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing.
Go ahead.
Wherefore, the rather to die.
They rather what?
To die.
That what?
That they might not be defiled with meats. And that they might not profane the holy covenant.
Right.
So then they died.
Right.
And there was very great wrath upon Israel.
So we got the page 83, and we're going to cut this lesson and we're going to do the part 2. So from Babylon to Timbuktu, go right here. Right there. Okay, we're going to start at the bottom of this page here when Antiochus IV. Hold on real quick. Let me get that too so that they can see it too. So anybody who knows about this book from Babylon to Timbuktu, A History of the Ancient Black Race, including the Black Hebrews, you can get this on PDF for free online. All right, so we're going to start. That's page 84. I'm tripping. Here we go. Okay. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this part. It says, when Antiochus IV usurped the throne in Syria. Now remember, for my viewers, remember we had just learned in the Britannica about Antiochus IV Epiphanes. And we learned that it talked about he was the Seleucid king of the Hellenistic what? Syrian kingdom. That's what you see right here in this book, ladies and gentlemen. So it says, once again, when Antiochus usurped the throne in year 175, a throne in Syria, 175 to 163. Remember, that's the Seleucid dynasty. All right. And if y'all been doing y'all count, if y'all been paying attention, we're going to do a countdown. So it says, he entertained the thought of uniting Alexander's empire. Remember we learned in 1 Maccabees 1? After Alexander died, you had people that took over and divided his empire. Yeah. As in 1 Maccabees 1. There's also in history. Y'all see that? It says, this meant the conquest of Egypt, Remember, we learned that he wants to rule over two realms, thought to rule over Egypt. It says, however, the province or the territory that bordered on Egypt was Palestine, which stood in his way. So that's why he wanted to take over both kingdoms. It says, at this time, the Jews would not accept Greek culture, meaning the Hellenizing. That's why this stuff had to be forced on us. Remember, if we accept Greek customs, Greek culture, which later became brought down to the Romans, which later became brought here to America, if we do those things, your God's not going to defend us. Not going to defend us at all. Got that? It says, at this time, the Jews would not accept Greek culture. Nevertheless, Antiochus was determined to what? Hellenize the Jews. Remember we learned about the Hellenistic period? For my viewers, right there. Hellenistic. Then he goes on to say this. He says, the army of Antiochus marched into Palestine to support Menelaus, the leader of the pro-Syrian party. As a result, many Jews were killed. Others escaped to the hills and to Egypt. Remember that? We learned that they were escaping so that they can keep the Sabbath, that they can follow our customs. Mm-hmm. That's historical. It says, only those Jews that supported Antiochus' policies remained in Jerusalem. Remember we learned earlier that some of them consented to his religion, consented to his worship. They became bootlickers, following after the heathen like some coons. So those people stayed. Remember the gymnasium? They built it according to the customs of the Greeks. It says an edict was proclaimed interdicting the observance of the holidays, the Sabbath, and circumcision. It says a statue of Jupiter or Jove was erected in the holy temple above the altar. Page 84. Remember we learned about Jupiter? Remember we learned about the ham, the pig, right? It says, to this statue, the people brought the sacrifice of what? What? Pig meat. Pig meat, the animal which is abomination to the Jews. Because of this religious persecution, they were literally killing us. It says, the legitimate high priest, Onias III, and many other Jews fled into African countries such as Egypt, Ethiopia, Libya, or Cyrenica. Throughout the last 2,500 years, the main factors that contributed to the social migration of the Jews were wars, religious persecution, and commerce. All these factors were operating and gave rise to the African Jews or the African Jewish population. I'll read this last paragraph. In 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state. What's the name of that movie we were just watching? Dealing with Titus and his son Vespasian, his father Vespasian. Pompey was one of them. Yeah, something about them dying or something like that. I forgot. Peacock, I think. I forgot the name of it, but it goes into a little of this history, y'all. But anyway, it says, in 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from the person known as Pompey all the way to the person known as Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave market were full of black Jewish slaves. The Jewish is not to be confused with the religion, but those that were known as the black Jews, the Israelites during this time. So you can even get you can look up a coin called Captive Judea or whatnot. You can see on the back of General Vespasian's coin, you see a black man sitting down, and you can see black people. So the Jews during this time were not white people, were people of color. They were black, and they hid from the Roman arms. But in short, ladies and gentlemen, we just seen historically what we just read in First Maccabees and in first chapter, Second Maccabees, the 6th chapter. That's historical. Now we're not done. I'm gonna definitely have to do a part 2 to this because it's definitely getting too long. Dealing with what we know as Hanukkah or the Feast of Dedication. So when you see these menorahs, it's associated with the Feast of Dedication, ladies and gentlemen. Now, did everybody understand what we went over so far? All right.
It's called Those About to Die.
The movie is called Those What?
About to Die.
Those About to Die. Watch that, and you'll learn about General Vespasian and his son Titus. All right, so real quick, one of the things I want to mention is Hebrews 10:26. Matter of fact, before I do, I want to go to Acts chapter 17 really quick, because there's somebody that's watching this, and again, they just don't know. They're ignorant to what is being said. So if you look at Acts chapter 17, verse 30, it says this. I'm gonna look at the NIV version. It says, in the past, God overlooked such ignorance. So you might got some of you all who might say, look, I didn't know those things, Christmas, these pagan holidays, this is attached to Jesus. You get it. My pastor taught me this. My grandmother taught me these things. I get it. I've been guilty of these things. We've all been guilty of these things. So, you were ignorant. Ignorant means you just didn't know. And then an even worse form of ignorance is dealing with the root word ignore. You just ignoring the facts. So Acts 17:30 says, in the past, God overlooked such ignorance. But now he commands all people everywhere to repent. Repent comes from the Hebrew word shuv. It means to turn. It don't mean to do a 360, because you do a 360, that means you're going right back to your vomit, right back to your ignorance. You do a complete 180. That means you are saying you're asking for forgiveness, you turning from it, and you're never doing it again. All right. So now we look at the book of Hebrews real quick, chapter 10. And what I'll do is I'll switch it back to KJV. Verse 26, it says, for if we sin willfully, all right, that means deliberately, on purpose. It says, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth. Y'all just heard it, just received it. Guess what? You now know better. So there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins. No more sacrifice for sins. Now we know sins is what? 1 John. Here's my brother in the background. 1 John chapter 3, verse 4, it says, whosoever committeth sin, transgressor or rebel or break also the law. For sin is the transgression of the law. Now, really quick, is another thing I want to point out as well while I'm on this. When we go to that passage in what we call today the New Testament, it also paints another picture here. Here we go. Boom. So up top it says Ha'igret HaRishona, which is the first letter, LeYochanan HaShaliach. In other words, by John the Apostle, the one who was sent. Perek, which is a chapter, and then 3. Look here in verse 4, it says, Kol Chotet, Poshia Betorah Veha Chet. Then we have the word Poshia Betorah. So the first part here is says call, which is all, Chotet, all who sins. Then we have the word Poshia. That's the word for crime, or another word for criminal. So everyone who sin is a criminal, Betorah, in the Torah. So literally, when you commit a crime in the world today, you are labeled a criminal. It's the same thing with dealing with you breaking the law of God. You're committing a crime. You're committing a felony. So there's another word for a felony as well. All right. So when you hear people, oh, well, such and such is a felon. Well, guess what? You go against God, you yourself is also a felon. So it says who, you have to put all this together, ve ha chet. So, then the word poshia. So in other words, everyone who sinned is a criminal, betorah, in the Torah, in the law. So if you break a law of God, you are a transgressor, you are a criminal, and you are a felon. All right, so that's the best way to explain what it means to sin, which is deliberately going against God. Now, when you look at Leviticus, before Yeshua or Jesus came, this is what it says here. This is what they had to do. And he shall do with this as a bullock. A bullock is just a male bull. As he did with the bullock for what kind of offering? A sin offering. Remember, if you sin, you are a criminal. You are a felon. So back then, before Yeshua came, you had to sacrifice if you committed a felony, aka a sin, a crime. It says, so shall he do with this, and the priests, which will be the Levites, the sons of Aaron, shall make an atonement for them. Atonement is literally a sacrifice. All right, that's a sacrifice. So it said they make an atonement for them, and look, what happens when they did a sacrifice? They were forgiven for their sins. So literally, a atonement or a sacrifice was linked to being forgiven. That being said, when you look at Hebrews chapter 10, we know that Yeshua is the sacrifice, as you read earlier in the chapter. Look at this. One sacrifice of Christ is sufficient. So Christ is the sacrifice. All right. So that being said, you go to Hebrews 10:26 again. It says, for if we sin willfully, meaning on purpose, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more forgiveness or a sacrifice for when you commit felonies. All right. So Christ is the sacrifice. So if you sin on purpose, you know this, and you still going doing Christmas, still doing your wreaths, still doing your Christmas tree, still doing your gifts, still doing your dinners, your mistletoes, your Christmas carols, all of these things are literally attached to pagan rituals, to idolatry. So there's no excuse. I've shown you these things. I've shown you the origins of these things that we got done dealing with. They all are attached to different deities, pagan rituals. So if you do those things after you receive the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sin. Who's the sacrifice? Christ. He's the sacrifice. When you look here in Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 20, I think it's 20. No, I think it's 22. Yeah, 22, it says, and almost all things by the law, what law? The law of sacrifice, purged or cleansed with blood. And without shedding of blood is no remission. Remission means forgiveness. Christ was the one who shed his blood so that we can be forgiven for our sins. He was the one who became the sacrifice. So that being said, ladies and gents, if you sin willfully after that you have received the knowledge of the truth, if you become a criminal in the eyes of God, if you become a felon by committing a crime against God, there is no more sacrifice. There is no more Christ. There is no more forgiveness for your sins. All right. So everything we just got done going over, you can't say you didn't know. If you didn't know, cool, God can overlook that. But now you do know. It's on you to go and do this research and to see if what I'm saying is remotely true. Who knows? Maybe I'm 99% correct. But how are you going to know? Are you going to know by just what? Listen to what I'm saying, or are you going to go and do the research for yourself? Go do the research and see if what I'm saying is true. See if it's at least somewhat true. See if you can see a connection. And of course, if you're seeking truth, you definitely will see a connection. Make sure you watch the video I did about 10 years ago. Dear Santa, Christianity Exposed. Watch that as well, because there's things in that video that I did not mention in this video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is just part one. There will be a part two, most high willing, and it will go up on this channel. So we are not done dealing with what we know as Hanukkah, which is the dedicate or dedication, if you will. We're not done. All right, so this is, I should just say, to be continued. Remember, the YouTube channel is youtube.com/Judah the Shooter. All right, I shoot out scripts, I shoot out information. I'm a straight shooter. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Ani Yehuda Hayorah V'Hitriot V'Shalom.